I do hear Jason. Yeah, this is Tim down in Dearborn. Are you there, Jason? Being fired from the 3rd floor north side. Now let me give you a little perspective of that. We're along Michigan Avenue. Those windows facing south, the windows on the opposite side facing north. 3rd floor, you see a drone up there. That's Dearborn Police's drone. No doubt peeking in through the windows here, trying to get a grasp of where the shooter is. But they believe he's contained to the 3rd floor of that building, to the north side of the building. Hence, police have set us up over here on the south side. They don't feel there's any concern. And again, there are police officers just standing around on the south side of the building. All the attention right now is underneath where that drone is. That's looking north from Michigan, just near Military. And that's where police believe they have got the suspect holed up in there right now. Michigan State Police SRT team are on their way here. Dearborn SRT is also here mounting up. Several Bearcats, several armored vehicles coming to the scene. And they're going to get this situation hopefully over with fairly soon. But the man, again, he has been shooting for the last half hour or so from the 3rd floor window. And as we heard the corporal just say from Dearborn Police, at least one person struck. Fearing that number may go up as the updates continue to come in, Jason.
Talking to Jason Clark. See the drone?
Oh, no, they have declared that situation. That is the situation they have here. They have him barricaded but contained. He isn't going anywhere from this hotel. They've got the hotel surrounded. There are officers, I believe, inside the hotel, and they believe they have him contained to that 3rd floor, and that's the situation right now. Michigan Avenue, actually all of downtown Dearborn, come to a complete standstill here as officers. I heard one officer reporting from Shelby Township. A Michigan State Police trooper was responding from Shelby Township. So officers from across southeast Michigan responding to the scene here in Dearborn. Well, he'll certainly be leaving the Hampton Inn at some point, but I don't know whether or not he's going to leave voluntarily, or it's going to require law enforcement efforts to get him and extract him out of here. All the time, again, I haven't heard any gunfire since I've been here, and I've been here about 15, 20 minutes, but there was gunfire earlier reported on the police radios as I was pulling up to the scene here. No gunfire in the last, again, 20 minutes or so. So, again, that drone is up there, and they've got all the technology they need, I suspect, with MSP coming down to try and figure out what's going on inside that 3rd floor hotel room here in Dearborn. Yeah, they don't take things like this lightly, of course. They mount up and they get their armor on and their helmets on. When you have an active shooter situation that we have right here, right now in Dearborn, you take no risks. The goal is no more injury, no more loss of life, if there is in fact been a loss of life out here. But the concern here is that they just want to have this end quickly and peacefully. No speculation. Go ahead. You're welcome, Jason. Thank you. Talk later. Oh, sorry, Norm. Okay, I lost IFB, so I hung up. Did you get that picture of the video?
What's that now?
Did you get the video of the guy coming out on the street?
Yeah, Norm's got it.
Alright, good.
I had him send it to WDIV receive.
Perfect. WDIV images?
Well, it was receive at WDIV.
Oh, okay. Where'd you guys end up parking?
We're on the other side.
Right.
Because we knew we wouldn't get in, so we tried to come in the back, and they had it all. I ended up walking around. And Norm did too.
I was parked up on the Starbucks, if you want a Starbucks. Hang on. His girlfriend's here at a white Equinox somewhere. The detective's taking him away. Who are you with? Yeah, you can go in. Media station's over here. There's a lieutenant there's a corporal right there. He's a PIO. Yeah, we just interviewed him. Yeah.
Good afternoon, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now as we have a developing story actually occurring right now in 3 different areas of the country. We have 4 people shot in Washington, D.C. We have this active shooter situation in Dearborn, Michigan. This is the Hampton Inn, where there's currently an active shooting scene on a top floor of the Hampton Inn, again in Dearborn, Michigan. That's what you're looking at here live on your screen, and we're currently also monitoring a 3rd situation that is currently unfolding, and I'll get you the details on that. That's happening in Kentucky, an active shooter situation with a person with an assault rifle in Lexington, Kentucky. This is all unfolding in the last couple of hours. Of course, all three in different sections of the country, not believed to be related in any which way, shape, or form. Just the fact that we're currently monitoring 3 shooting situations going on. Again, one in Washington, D.C., this one from Dearborn, Michigan that you're looking at here on your screen, as well as a third one that we're now just getting an NBC alert on from Lexington, Kentucky. We're going to be bringing you feeds from all across the country as far as these stories as they come into our newsroom here on WFLA Now. But for now, we're going to send you back over to the live feed again from Dearborn, Michigan. Stand by for updates.
Yeah, they only have like 20 minutes platform. Same battery. More people coming in.
So we have now just gotten in the feed from Lexington, Kentucky. Let's take you there. Now, what we're gonna do first is put up the video. Let's take a look at the video. This is live from Lexington. We'll mute the audio from Dearborn, Michigan here for just a moment. And also, too, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in the audio for the first time from Lexington, Kentucky. And as a reminder, we don't know how loud this feed is gonna be, so I'll punch this up. And it, of course, doesn't appear to be all that bad. But again, this is live from Lexington, Kentucky, excuse me. As we're live here from multiple locations, we'll continue to, of course, monitor these feeds and take you there live. But for now, we're going to stay with Dearborn, Michigan. Updates and a full stream coming your way here shortly.
We get sound with 3 people in the hotel.
Perfect, that's what you needed. That's all you need. Howdy.
Taking off the safe ground while unwanted auntie. So it's like around 14:20. In the lot behind the gray building. That's all I got.
We're preparing to launch our live stream across all platforms. JB here with you live in the Stream Center, again monitoring 3 incidents that have occurred in the last several hours, including Washington, D.C., with the report of 4 people shot there. We're monitoring this feed from Dearborn, Michigan, for an active shooter situation on a top floor of the Hampton Inn in Dearborn. We're also getting reports of a possible shooting-related incident or shooter-related incident in Lexington, Kentucky. Although right now our NBC sister station in Lexington, Kentucky is reporting that it is just a heavy police presence at this time, despite an NBC alert going out about it being connected to a person with a rifle. A lot of information coming in. We're going to, of course, parse through all of it, bring you the very latest. We're going to stay here live with the one feed that we have right now. This is, again, from Dearborn, Michigan, as we prepare to launch our stream across all platforms. Good afternoon, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now, monitoring 3 situations unfolding in 3 different sections of the country. We're going to start here from Dearborn, Michigan, a news crew showing you right there in the background behind all of these first responder vehicles, the Hampton Inn. That is currently the site of an active shooter situation, we have been told. Police have confirmed that to our NBC sister station in Lansing, Michigan, as we're currently seeing some of the first responders setting up a perimeter here, as media being told that this is the closest they can get to the hotel because of an active shooter situation on one of the top floors of the Hampton Inn. We're also monitoring 2 other situations at this hour, including 4 people shot in Washington, D.C., as well as we also have a situation in Lexington, Kentucky, of a possible standoff connected to a man with a rifle. As we have our NBC feed, they're now feeding back, I believe, an interview that you're going to see here momentarily. And we'll be here with you folks on WFLA Now as we monitor all these feeds coming into our newsroom at this hour. A busy afternoon in connection, again, with multiple different situations. Again, that being Washington, D.C., 4 people shot in Washington, D.C. We had a feed of that a short time ago before the feed just went out. This is a feed coming in on a delay now of, again, a Hampton Inn in Dearborn, Michigan, a top floor of the hotel, the scene of an active shooter situation that is currently unfolding. And then the third one is the one that we know the least about, a possible standoff and a possible barricaded situation involving a man with a rifle in Lexington, Kentucky. Although our sister station in Lexington, Kentucky right now, all they're reporting is just a heavy police presence. So there's some conflicting information coming out of Lexington, Kentucky at this hour. This is a feed now of some of the interviews from Dearborn, Michigan, and we'll listen in here as this is coming in on a brief delay. And now we have currently lost all of the feeds that we had coming into our newsroom, though it's, I believe our team right now is trying to reestablish connection with our friends in Lexington, Kentucky, again in Washington, D.C., and the one that we've been monitoring here very closely in Dearborn, Michigan. I think this is the Dearborn, Michigan feed that is back. Let's listen in. This is, again, interviews being conducted a short time ago.
D-A-V-I-N,
Okay, Davin, last name?
dual D-E-U-E-L.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm originally from New Mexico. I'm stationed up in Cleveland, Ohio with the Coast Guard right now.
Oh, really?
Coming into town for a concert tonight. So
Which concert?
his name is Steve Lacy. He's got the #1 song in the nation right now. So
Okay, I guess I'm way out of it, but okay, so you're in town for a concert. Tell me what happened, what you heard.
really, we checked in our room maybe about an hour and a half ago from the current time. Checked in a little bit early. We just heard some footsteps running up and down the hall. I peeked my head out, saw some cops at the end of the hall. They told us to get back in. I peeked out after a little bit of time, peeked my head out again, and they said they would escort us out of the building. And when we got downstairs, we just saw a ton of police everywhere. So other than that, don't really know too much of the situation.
So you didn't hear any shots fired?
No, I didn't hear any shots fired, just really footsteps up and down the hall.
Is it, I don't know, getting brought out of the hotel by the cops was not you bargained for, did it?
Not exactly, not what I expected, on my couple of days off this week, but, just glad to make it out safe. So.
Well, let me ask this, because I want to talk to you too. Tell me about when police tell you that there's a barricaded gunman, he shot somebody, they had to take that person to the hospital. How discomforting, disquieting is that for you?
It's not something you want to hear. I just pray that that person's okay. I'm in the military, so we don't expect these things, but you're not surprised that it happens at times. We're just thankful to be out here safe. Both of us still alive and safe. Thank God for that. So
Definitely. Okay, good. And what is your name?
My name's Kara Rodriguez.
Kara, C-A-R-A or K?
K.
Okay, Kara Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Okay, Kara, tell me, now you said you might have heard.
Folks, just coming in, this is live from Washington, D.C.
What we are asking is anyone who has information regarding today's events, please contact the Metropolitan Police Department at 202-727-9099, or you can text us at 50411. We take gun violence in our communities very seriously. Our federal partners ATF have been very instrumental in assisting us with solving and reducing violent crime in our city. We also have cooperation and assistance and partnership with the Office of Gun Violence Interruption here with us. Again, we are in our preliminary stages of this investigation. As more information becomes available, we will push that out to you all. Thank you all for your time.
Andrew, is this a drive-by? Were they were going eastbound on New York? Did they stop at the intersection and open fire, or did they just drive by and shoot?
As I stated, we're in the preliminary stages of the investigation, and I don't want to speculate. Once we have more information available, we will push that out to you guys, along with any images. Preliminarily, it appears that the shots were fired from the car.
What can you tell us about possible connection with the murder that happened in the same block Sunday around noon?
At this time, I do not want to say that it is connected. We are still in the preliminary stages of our investigation. As this case continues to develop, we'll come back and update you guys.
I think this committee would like to know what you might be able to say about not only this drive-by, but the one on Sunday, and then you had another one down here back in August where 5 people were shot and 2 were killed.
Let me speak to you on that. The shooting that you're referencing actually happened in a different district, but any violence in our city we take seriously. And in reference to this community, we're always out here. We're going to be here. Not only are we out here, I'm in constant communication with the president and the commissioner that's responsible for this community. In fact, I had a conversation with her today about this very event. So we're here, we're going to be here, we're not going anywhere. We're committed to removing violent offenders from these communities, and we're counting on the public to help us do that. This is a partnership, and we take it very seriously. Any other questions? Again, sir, it's very early in the investigation, and I don't want to speculate. As we get more details, we will come back and push that out to you guys. And any images or any further developments, we will come back and share with everyone.
Commander, I do have a question. Where were these 4 men standing at the moment of the shooting?
What we know is they were in the unit block of New York Avenue when this happened. That's what we know for the moment.
All right, guys, thank you very much. We'll get an update to you as soon as we have one.
Thank you, everyone.
So that was, again, a police press conference from Washington, D.C., again, monitoring a trio of events that are currently going on, one in Lexington, Kentucky, one in Washington, D.C., and then one here from Dearborn, Michigan, an active shooter situation on the top floor, one of the top floors of a Hampton Inn in Dearborn, Michigan. That is currently ongoing. You heard there that the 4 people shot. That was on North Capitol Street in Washington, D.C., and that appears to have been a drive-by related or a drive-by shooting. All 4 of the victims are said to be men. No information immediately on the suspect, the circumstances of the shooting, or the severity of the victim's injuries at this time. But of course, what the reporters there in Washington, D.C. were referencing, that the shooting comes just days after a 22-year-old man was shot and killed on that same block in that same area of North Capitol Street in Washington, D.C. So a lot going on. This is, again, I believe that we have now switched back to either a slightly delayed or live feed. This is from Dearborn, Michigan, right here next to me, which is, I guess, right over here, as we have the photographer here waving and gesturing over to the, I believe, the reporter. The hotel that is located basically right there, the Hampton Inn. On one of those top floors, either the top floor or maybe the floor right beneath it, there is currently an active shooter situation that is currently unfolding. Police have come out and spoke to the media. What they said is that, of course, that the suspect is not yet in custody. One person has been transported to the hospital with injuries, and that it's currently an active situation that they are currently responding to, but that no one else in the immediate area is in danger. The way that they described it is that this is contained to the hotel itself, but of course, with somebody possibly and likely being armed in this hotel, they've established a wide perimeter to ensure the public's safety. So you can see first responders, including Dearborn Fire Rescue on the ground. That is the reporter who's been providing some information. In fact, let's just listen in here for a second.
On. All right, I hear you now, yes. Okay, they're getting ready. They're getting ready. So
we're all going to be breaking into programming, so can you give us like 1 minute?
Yep, 2-minute warning. 2-minute warning. And is it Lou Barton?
No, Corporal.
First name?
First name, Dan.
Dan. Okay, Dan Barton.
Can we get a little closer to him?
Okay.
He keeps walking away from us.
All right. They're going to take me first.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Come on, give me a break. You're going this way. I don't know that you're going to be able to reach him.
We'll make it. Trust me.
Have him come down this way.
At my weight, I can lean into anything.
You can sit on me if you want. I love you that much.
Okay, everyone ready?
We need to go.
Hi, Michael. I can't see the interviewer. Lieutenant, thank you. No, Rod's got it. Thanks.
Everyone good?
Okay. Good afternoon. We're here in Dearborn. Good afternoon. We're here in Dearborn at a barricaded gunman situation, and we're waiting for a police briefing here from the Michigan State Police in Dearborn.
Right now, west downtown, scene of an active situation. We're asking all residents and everyone, please stay out of our west downtown area. At approximately 1:09 this afternoon, our emergency dispatch center received phone calls of a possible shots fired incident at a local hotel. Officers immediately responded to the scene, secured the scene, and started to evacuate patrons and employees of the hotel. Officers continued to investigate the scene and continue to work the scene as they are right now. We have multiple officers on scene along with multiple law enforcement agencies assisting us at this point. We believe that we have the suspect contained at the location, and officers are negotiating with the suspect at this point. Again, we're asking that everyone stay away from our west downtown area. Michigan Avenue is completely closed off to traffic right now. as officers continue to work the scene and make sure that the situation is secured and everyone stays safe.
Do we know what prompted this, or what the beginning of this episode was?
We don't know what initiated the situation. The call came into our emergency dispatch center as a shots fired situation, and we immediately responded to that situation.
How many people have been hurt?
So right now, we have one victim at this point that was transported to a local hospital.
I understand there are a couple of schools in the neighborhood. Did they get locked down?
In the immediate area of this hotel, there is not a school in the immediate area. There's some surrounding area. Notifications were made appropriately.
As for that victim, some are reporting that it was a fatality. Can you confirm that?
I cannot confirm that we have a fatality. The victim was transported to a local hospital for treatment, and we're actively working the scene.
What are the suspect's demands? Is he talking to his fiancée, we've heard?
So, of course, we are actively working the scene, and our negotiators are working, trying to resolve this peacefully. And, of course, I can't give you the details of what we're talking about.
Do we know if the victim knew the shooter at this point?
I don't have that information at this point.
Are there any other guests in the hotel still at this point?
I can't confirm that at this point. We've evacuated quite a few people.
How many shots fired?
We're actively investigating. It's a very fluid situation. I can't give you that information at this point.
Lieutenant Shaw, what is MSP doing to assist at this point?
So at the time that this incident occurred, Dearborn contacted us through our dispatch center asking for our assistance. Currently we're providing aviation support as well as our emergency response team. Our troopers are currently blocking off all of downtown Dearborn, slowly pushing people back. I'm going to reiterate what the corporal said. Usually when we say don't come down here, that gives an indication to people to come down here. This is a dangerous situation. This person is still liable to shoot at people walking in this area. So I cannot say it enough. This is not a safe area. Do not come down to downtown Dearborn just to gawk. It's not safe for you. We're currently working with Dearborn. What they need, we'll give them if we got it. We're currently still working our operations as we normally would out in Michigan as well. So we have enough people that we're able to help out Dearborn and still do our jobs out there.
Victim a hotel employee?
We don't know anything about the victim.
And what kind of weapon does the suspect have to your knowledge?
From our understanding, it's a long gun.
So I would think there would be unique challenges in dealing with something like this in a high-density commercial area.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a tough spot anytime that you have any type of shooting anywhere, be it somebody's neighborhood or into a building like this where there's bullets being fired. There's no tracking thing on a bullet. Once the person pulls the trigger, that bullet goes everywhere. So yes, it's super dangerous, and that's why we've taken those preemptive stripes or preemptive statements and preemptive things on social media to remind people to get the heck out of here. There is nothing to see here, and that's a cliche that we use all the time, but really there is nothing to see here at all, and it's very dangerous.
We're very fortunate that we have partnered and reached out to all of our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners. We have multiple jurisdictions on scene assisting us. Of course, this is a challenging situation, but our goal is to make sure that we keep this as safe as possible.
As I understand it, shots were fired, you arrived on the scene, and then I believe there were more shots fired after that?
I can't confirm that at this point.
Do we know how many shots?
I don't know that number at this point.
Was this an eviction of this person that led to this?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So he's still inside right now?
The suspect is still inside the hotel. We have the suspect contained, and we're actively negotiating with the suspect at this point.
Thank you, Corporal. All right, Tim. So there you have it. It's a barricaded gunman situation here now at the Hampton Inn in downtown Dearborn, and certainly we've spoken to people who have been brought out of the hotel. We've just heard the briefing here, but there's so much more to tell. We will have all of that coming up on Local 4 News at 4, 5, and 6. So for now, that's here. We're finished here live in Dearborn. We'll send it back to our regularly scheduled programming.
This being the reporter for our sister station, our NBC sister station. They're on the ground in Dearborn, Michigan. Let me address the final comment. We'll bring down the audio here for just a second. Let me address the final comment that came in, or a question really rather, from one of the reporters, because it was Michigan State Police who put out a short time ago on Twitter of telling people basically to avoid the area. And they put out this update, and it reads as follows: there are still shots being fired by the suspect. Troopers and officers are working on clearing the entire area around the hotel. Please stay away from the area, as this is an active situation and extremely dangerous to the public. So you can see that, of course, the entire area has been evacuated. People, getting out really out of harm's way from the hotel itself, as this is now happening on one of the top floors of the Hampton Inn that we've been showing you here live on this stream. So we do know now that police are actively negotiating with the barricaded suspect in the Hampton Inn. We know that at least one person has been transported for their injuries, and we do know, of course, that this is still a very active scene at this time. Other details this time are scarce, but as the crew just kind of takes a break here, and the cameraman is rotating around, we're getting an idea as to exactly how many people are just standing by and waiting for this situation to be resolved. A couple of other important information points from Michigan. This is the Hampton Inn at 22324 Michigan Avenue in Dearborn, and a nearby school, Duval Elementary School, has gone into what they have called a precautionary soft lockdown, which means that of course isn't going to cause a massive disruption to the school day, but they're taking precautions to keep kids safe. The update that we got before this one, this is, I believe, the second impromptu press conference that we've had from Michigan. The first one, they made it very clear that this is believed to be contained to this area and that there's no threat really outside the area. They're not going down the residential streets nearby to let people know, to lock their doors or anything like that. This is contained to the hotel, but if there is somebody up there erratic and with enough ammo and firing, of course, their firearm erratically, that, of course, could spray into different sections of the hotel, or perhaps impact others nearby in the vicinity of the hotel. So taking extreme precaution, our police on the ground, as well as first responders here, as far as keeping a safe distance, even though the Hampton Inn, it's right there here on the left side of your picture, here on the right side of your screen. So we're monitoring the situation, and we're also monitoring two other situations all unfolding in the last couple of hours. It sounds, and based on the press conference that we just got from Washington, D.C., and I want to make this clear for our YouTube commenters, we have 4 people shot in Washington, D.C., 1 person who has been transported to a hospital as a result of injuries from Dearborn, Michigan, the shooting that has occurred in this hotel. So it's important when we're monitoring multiple news stories in multiple different areas or multiple different states like we are right now on WFLA Now, that the numbers can easily get misconstrued or spread, or commenters can say, oh yeah, it's a total of 4 people shot, but that's a different situation. 4 people shot right now in Washington, D.C., and we have the 1 person who has been injured here with the barricaded gunman situation at the Hampton Inn in Dearborn, Michigan. A third situation that we are watching right now is in Lexington, Kentucky, of a possible additional barricaded suspect, but information there is far less reliable. We're trying to sort through that information and figure out exactly what's going on the ground in Lexington, Kentucky. We did have a shot periodically for a brief moment here in the Stream Center of Lexington, Kentucky. It didn't seem highly active, but I think that was a result of a very wide perimeter being set up, so there wasn't much that we could see from that situation. The NBC alert that went out was pertaining to a person with a rifle, possibly with a rifle, in a barricaded situation. But that is very murky right now and really unclear. We'll try to get you updated information again from Lexington, Kentucky. The 2 stories that we're monitoring more closely, because we are getting updates and we are getting press conferences from police, are again from here in Dearborn, Michigan, as well as that press conference that we brought you to for a short time in Washington, D.C., in what appears and sounds like a drive-by shooting not too far away from where another shooting recently occurred that led to the death of a person. So we have 4 people shot in Washington, D.C. All of these shootings, let me make this clear, appear to be, of course, completely unrelated. They're in different states, in different neighborhoods of of course, different sections of the country. So we've got Lexington, Kentucky, of course, with a heavy police presence there. And then, of course, we have the 2 shootings. We have Dearborn, Michigan, and we've got Washington, D.C. We're going to stay here with you live on WFLA Now and monitor this situation, considering how highly active it is right now with ongoing police negotiations with the barricaded gunmen right there in that building. Oftentimes what we have as far as a situation when it comes to an active shooter situation is police will back up the media and back up the public maybe several blocks to where the camera barely has a vantage point. Right here, the camera and the media and members of the public, they're positioned, I mean, what, maybe I would say 100 yards, 150, maybe 200 yards. It's hard to tell with depth on a camera shot like this, but we're on that block. It's very clear that we are on the same block as the hotel. So we have a really good vantage point here of the hotel in question and the barricaded suspect again. That looks to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-story hotel, as now the helicopter for our NBC sister station has now arrived. So they have now switched their feed. We're accessing this feed from Tampa Bay, of course, but this feed has now been switched over to aerials. So now I'll go full screen here so that we get a better idea and we can show you what's going on. There's the media pool behind the perimeter tape, as we were just noting. There's Dearborn Fire Rescue responding. And then in front of them, you see all of the what is likely Dearborn Police and Michigan State Police that are pulled up right next to the hotel. So from your vantage point right now, the hotel is right there, the bottom left-hand portion of your screen. And the chopper will be circling around here to show you. And then we can see how many stories this hotel is. And we might actually be able to see, a shot that we had earlier of people in other buildings looking outside and appearing to, trying to get an idea as to what's going on. Let me also point out something that is extraordinarily obvious. We might not get a shot of the hotel. And what will happen with the media? What will happen with the media so commonly with ongoing active shooter situations when you have a barricaded person? You never want to tip off the barricaded person to the current state of things beyond their barricade. You never want to give away possible strategic points of information. So you see the chopper right now. They're not showing the hotel, and that has to be at this point. That is completely deliberate to not give away any information. If the shooter is barricaded and has access to a phone, they could be watching this chopper feed and be using that to get information as to where police might be located. So police might have given information to the media. They might have given information over the radio to the chopper pilot and the chopper photographer to let them know the sensitivity of the situation. But now we're looking into windows here. So I'm not entirely sure. But here's a viewpoint of windows. And now we're getting a better look at the hotel in question. And we see, of course, the police response in the rear and the front of the building. As again, as we understand it, negotiations are currently underway with the suspect. So it's extremely sensitive of a situation when you're talking about the media having access or close access, in this case, very close access from the sky, being able to get a camera vantage point of a barricaded suspect situation. And that's why I think on this side of the building, they're not showing those windows of the hotel. It might be, of course, deliberate, and it might be, of course, in tandem and in contact with Michigan State Police or other Michigan authorities such as Dearborn Police. So this is now a wide shot showing you the neighborhood. This is not too far from Detroit. This is really the Detroit metro area, not too far away from our border with Canada. This is, again, live from Dearborn, Michigan. And as I understand it, it's been told to me by a colleague of mine that this is a very well-known street. I've never been to this particular section of Michigan, but I know that based on what a colleague informed me, this is a very well-known area, a very well-known street with a lot of foot traffic, a lot of traffic in general. And so this is currently a scene that has been shut down, a street that has been shut down as a result, again, of this active shooter situation. What I will be doing is monitoring our comment section for your hashtag HeyJB questions and comments. What we can do is interact with you here live as we await further updates from Michigan Police. We're live on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We're live on WFLAnow.com. We're also live on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, where I'll take a moment now to step away and monitor our comment section for any questions or maybe observations. Sometimes we've got law enforcement retirees that are in our comment section that have great points that they make. This is, again, why we interact with you live. You might see something, you might know something about this area, or you might have a question that you'd like answered. I'll pay attention to the hashtag HeyJB comments in the Facebook Live and YouTube Live comment section. Also bring up the audio here on the chopper feed. And it appears there is no audio. Some news helicopters will have a person narrating from the sky. In this case, we do not have one, but we'll keep this channel open in the event that they do have somebody providing some voiceover for this feed, as I take a step away for about 90 seconds to monitor our comments coming in on the WFLA Facebook and YouTube pages. Again, JB here with you live on WFLA Now in the Stream Centers. We're monitoring 3 separate situations, but really focused in now on Dearborn, Michigan and Hampton Inn, where police are actively negotiating with a barricaded gunman. One person has been hurt. We do not know the severity of their injuries. We're also monitoring 4 people shot in Washington, D.C., and a less clear, more murky situation in Lexington, Kentucky, involving a heavy police presence there, a possible situation with a person with a rifle, possible secondary barricaded situation, or a second barricaded situation involving a suspect. So a lot going on. It's been a very busy afternoon in these 3 respective areas. Again, the Detroit metro area where we're currently live from, Washington, D.C., and as well as Lexington, Kentucky. I'm going to start to take your comments here out of the Facebook Live comment section. They can be questions, they can be observations, as we await the next update from police, as currently we have, again, police negotiating with the barricaded gunman on one of the top floors of the Hampton Inn that you will see on your screen here momentarily as the chopper with our NBC sister station makes the rounds, you're basically rotating here and moving, making circles around the hotel itself. We'll go to this comment from, we'll start here from the WFLA YouTube Live comment section. Hashtag HeyJB, do we know if this was a domestic situation? That is not clear at this time. We do not know who the person was that was shot in their relation, if any, to the gunman, the barricaded suspect in this case. So they could have been together. It could have been a different type of situation. We don't know at this time. Unfortunately, this is a type of question that we see increasingly in our comment section these days, is whether or not we're talking about a domestic related incident. Why? Because we have so many of them that occur in our country every single day. Not every single domestic situation involves, a firearm, but of course, domestic calls are all too common, and they're happening routinely in this country. And it doesn't matter what city or state you live in; it's happening pretty much across the country. So we're getting now a real wide shot of the Detroit metro area, showing you where Dearborn, Michigan is located. Again, this is currently live on your screen from our NBC sister station as they monitor a barricaded gunman inside the Hampton Inn Hotel. And they might be leaving to refuel. And of course, we have now lost our signal. We're going to stay here with you live as we, again, monitor a lot of different feeds coming into the newsroom at the moment. We're going to show you now, this is our tower cam here in Tampa, Florida. Gorgeous, beautiful day in Tampa, Florida. And I'm also keeping my eye here on this screen in the Stream Center, waiting for feeds to pop up. So this is how this works, folks, as far as our affiliates in their respective states and their respective markets. What they'll do is they'll fire up their cameras, they'll fire up their choppers, whatever it might be. They will, of course, blast out the feed to stations across the country. We access those feeds and we take them here for you live on WFLA Now. And we're here live on a very busy afternoon out of Dearborn, Michigan, Washington, D.C., as well as Lexington, Kentucky. So monitoring our grid here for additional feeds popping up. I will stay here with you live on YouTube and take some comments. Stormy says, #AJB, this activity today is very unfortunate. Yeah, it is. It's an unfortunate trio of events. We were preparing our live stream for 4 people shot in Washington, D.C. And then 4 minutes later, it felt like 4 or 5 minutes later, we had a second shooting incident involving Dearborn, Michigan. And then right as we were going live, our newsroom alerted me to a third situation involving Lexington, Kentucky. So it's been a very busy afternoon. It's obviously extraordinarily unfortunate when you're talking about 3 possible shooting incidents in 3 different cities across the country. Laura Connor, #AJB, is there a hostage? Is that what they are negotiating? If not, why don't they just bust in? Look, with a barricaded situation, and we know this from other barricaded situations, both locally and non-locally, usually behind a barricade, there is a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty. And if you have somebody that is acting erratically, look, you don't know if there's anybody else behind the barricade. You don't know if you have somebody who is going to, somebody who's a threat to themselves, obviously. So there's a lot of unknown, and police are always going to try to bring a resolution to a situation without any further loss of life. So when you have an armed person behind a barricade, it is very common for negotiators to be brought in, not just to save the lives of any others and prevent any other shots from being fired, but also to save the suspect's life. You don't know what that person has, if that person is experiencing a mental health episode. You don't know exactly what is going on behind the barricade. There's a lot of unknown when you're talking about police first arriving to the scene and just knowing that there's a barricaded suspect. And, in this case, we have 1 person injured. With all the unknown, police are always going to do everything they can to prevent further loss of life. So the fact that they've established a lane of communication with the suspect in this case, and that they are negotiating, means that there is an opportunity perhaps for them to bring the situation to a peaceful resolve. And we'll, of course, follow along from Dearborn, Michigan as we get any additional updates. And every time I look this way, folks, I'm just looking at our monitors here to see if there's any new live feeds that have popped up, whether it be from Michigan, D.C., or Kentucky. We'll go back. Let's say hello to our commenters on Facebook Live and say hello to them in the WFLA Facebook Live comment section. Just because it has the hashtag doesn't mean I'm going to bring it up. There are some trolling comments in our comment section. I'm used to it, folks. I've been doing this for years. I'm not going to put up a comment that, of course, has, a nefarious or nasty intention. Janie, I see your comment. That's something I'm gonna have to look a little more closely at. It's unclear at this time, Cliff. Cliff, I'll bring up your comment. I think that I don't know. We don't know if this is a hostage situation. I'm waiting for this comment to come up on screen. I don't think it is at the moment. Try this again. Cliff, I'll try to get your comment on screen. Not sure why Facebook isn't cooperating today. Let's try this one more time, Cliff. There it is. How many? We don't know whether or not it is a hostage situation and whether or not, of course, this is, we're awaiting additional details from Dearborn, Michigan. Let's see. Amy says, #KJB, it's a beautiful 78 degrees and a very walkable downtown. This is the main street of Dearborn. I live 15 minutes away. Our YouTube and Facebook audience, they're, of course, spread out across the country. You know, our Facebook audience and our YouTube audience, while we are your local NBC station in Tampa Bay, Florida, we have an audience that, of course, spreads far and wide, and a lot of folks, too, that will either vacation to the Tampa Bay area, have a winter home in the summer, a winter home in the Tampa Bay area. So Amy is joining us, she says, from not too far away, or 15 minutes away from the main street of Dearborn, and it looks like a beautiful area. We are going to be ending our Facebook stream in the next 5 minutes if we do not get a second feed to bring you or another feed to bring you. Currently, all feeds from all three metros are down at the moment. So I can only, stand here, or rather sit here and answer questions for so long. I know that everybody is looking here for updates and information and then want to see the area. So if we do not have a feed come in the next 5 minutes, we'll be ending our Facebook feed. We might try to stay live a little bit longer on YouTube, but right now we're just waiting for an additional feed to come in. I'll bring up this comment just for the purpose of addressing, this is Wish Tap on YouTube Live, #KJB. What do you believe the motive is? Considering that they've barricaded in a hotel, a disgruntled fire employee. This is, I want to make this clear, and I'm not coming down on Wish Tap. Wish Tap, I'm not coming down on you in any way, shape, or form, but this is one of the reasons why WFLA Now exists. Speculation is not something that we do here. We address comments and we address what is possible as far as being in the realm of reality and what is impossible based on the facts that we have. But for me to have any idea what the motive is for this person, I'm not going to even begin to speculate. I would discourage others from speculating. That's how misinformation gets spread on social media. It's just important to stay rooted in reality. As far as it being a disgruntled fire employee, that's asking that in the form of a question is also that's something that we can never assume. You don't know if it's an employee. You don't know if it is a person who is staying at the hotel, somebody who is visiting the hotel, somebody who's been. There's just so many different possibilities. It's endless as far as the different types of scenarios that exist out there. So please, everybody, pay attention to the facts of a story. And that's what we do here. We do our very best to separate fact from fiction, but then what we do here, because it's not just always fact and fiction. There's also a gray area between the two where we're getting preliminary information, or there's social media activity about a particular fact in a story, or what people believe to be a fact, something that police are not yet reporting but witnesses have said. There is a gray area between fact and fiction, and that's something that we help you kind of comb through and weave through here on WFLA Now, because social media can sometimes be ahead of the official response or the official matters of a story. So what we're doing is we're trying to help you parse through that information as quickly as possible, as thoroughly as possible, and telling you what is fact, what is fiction, and what is kind of in that gray unknown area. Going back over to Facebook Live for a second. Oh, I believe our feed is now back up. So let's show you guys. Let's go back to the feed and show you. Oh, no, wait, this is a different feed. Excuse me. I thought that this was, we're going to come back. Accessing a lot of different feeds are we at all times, but that one does not appear to be from Dearborn, Michigan. In fact, where did that feed come from? That was bizarre. Oh no, I'm sorry. Excuse me. This was Washington, D.C. I'm just getting it confirmed here. I believe that there is a reporter who is standing by for a live report. Let's just bring up his audio for a second.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, I can't.
So they're having a little bit of, you know, some off-camera conversation that we were just kind of paying attention to for a second, just to see exactly what the situation is. But this is, yeah, to confirm, this is from DC, right? Oh, this is now from Las Vegas. So the label on the feed has not yet been updated. Okay. I didn't think that looked like Washington, D.C. Yeah. I sent you the link. All right, so now we have, this is the latest feed coming in on a very busy afternoon. Everyone's going to have to excuse me. I have to go by, of course, what our feeds portal tells us. That did not look like Washington, D.C. to me at all. I thought that maybe there was a chance that it was a fringe area of Washington, D.C., and this was a reporter who was giving an update on maybe a secondary story. It's clearly now, obviously, this is Las Vegas, and we now have the reports coming in of multiple people stabbed, correct? Let's get this from News 3 Las Vegas. I'm sorry, say that again. Got it. So, folks, this is now a fourth story emerging involving violence. And we'll get this a very active day in the newsroom here, folks, as far as a lot of different stories coming in. 2 shootings, one, a third is a possible shooting. And then this one now, a multiple stabbing incident in Las Vegas. So let me read this here for you because this is just developing now at this hour. 1 person dead, 5 others injured in a stabbing that took place in front of a casino on Las Vegas Boulevard this morning. According to police, the attack happened at the 3100 block of South Las Vegas Boulevard near Encore Resorts Boulevard at around 11:42 a.m. So far, 5 victims have been located and transported to local hospitals in unknown conditions. Another victim has been declared deceased, and a suspect has been taken into custody. So this reporter is preparing for a live report on one of our sister stations out of Las Vegas. Roads in the area, clearly they have been closed, and drivers have been asked to seek alternative means of getting to their destination. So now I want to make this clear. The bottom of your screen says police negotiating with barricaded gunmen in Michigan hotel. However, this is now a 4th incident that we are covering here on stream. When this reporter begins talking, we will listen in. He might be getting updated information on the ground from officials on the ground. So we'll listen to his live shot.
About a quarter to 12, roughly 45, 50 minutes ago. And what I'm going to do is step out of this picture and just give you an idea of what's happening right now. According to a statement from Metro, multiple stab victims were here earlier. We're told that as many as 6 people have been located as a stabbing victim and transported to the hospital, but we've also been told by Metro that 1 person has died. What you're looking at are multiple scenes. What I was told by one of the officers earlier is that on the Palazzo side of the street, right by the entrance to the Grand Canal shops, there was something happened there. But also, if we can go over to the other side of the street, Neb, in front of the Wynn, there is a row of about 10 Metro vehicles as well. We've seen police officers standing outside the entrance at Wynn. So this was also a separate scene. So it's very possible that there's been a search for some kind of a weapon, but we've been told that a suspect is in custody as well. This is a developing story. These are the kinds of things that we'll be hearing from Metro very soon, and give us a kind of a briefing on exactly what's happening out here and get a status update. So for now, we will throw it back to you reporting live from the Strip. Steve Wolford, News 3, Latoya.
So, Las Vegas, the Strip, where we're currently looking at a now 4th incident that we are covering here on WFLA Now this afternoon. 1 person dead, multiple stabbing victims. We have KLAS are confirming that 6 people have been stabbed, 1 person dead on the Las Vegas Strip, as you're currently looking at here. The suspect, again, is in custody, as you just heard our colleague mention to you here on the feed. So we're bouncing around to a couple of different areas now, but we're going to stay here with you with the feed that we currently have. I know that a lot of folks are likely seeking an update on the active shooter situation with the police actively negotiating with a barricaded suspect in Dearborn, Michigan, but we're going to stay here with you live with the multiple stabbing victims on the Las Vegas Strip. This location, one of the more identifiable locations probably in the entire country, because we're talking about the Strip. Las Vegas Boulevard. How many people from all around this country, around the world, will descend on Las Vegas, of course, to have a good time, to check out our casinos, to check out, you know, the wonderful restaurants and all the things that there are to do in Las Vegas. You don't need me to tell you if you've been to Las Vegas before. But this is, again, a very identifiable, recognizable area, and one that, that again, the scene of an extremely violent incident. And 1 person dead, 6 total stabbed, just an absolutely terrible situation. And really, what provokes somebody to take a knife or to take a sharp object and to start stabbing people, especially in a place as look, the amount of foot traffic that there is on the Las Vegas Strip. Doesn't matter that it's not, a Saturday night or a Friday night. The Las Vegas Strip is always extremely active. There's always a good amount of foot traffic. So to think that there was somebody out there with a knife or a sharp object just stabbing people, that, of course, extraordinarily concerning. What doesn't appear to be known at this time, and again, I'm just kind of combing through this, but whether or not this is a incident that occurred at random. Was this a random incident that occurred with random people just walking the streets of Las Vegas? That, of course, just makes you really take a step back and go, oh, my goodness. But again, yep, getting in it. Got it. Okay. Thank you. So we're monitoring now a new feed that is coming in from Las Vegas. We'll listen into this reporter, but you can clearly see that he's talking to his photojournalist. We'll listen in here in just a second. A second feed, I've just been informed by our staff here at WFLA, is about to come in.
Definitely a chaotic scene here on the Las Vegas Strip. Very uncharacteristic, especially with so many tourists around.
This is, let me explain what is going on now. It's very common for us in the media. This is what is called a look live. This is when a recorded feed is coming in for a newsroom
not
for them
very
to play back.
Characteristic of what you typically see here. I'll step out of the way and let you know exactly what's happening. According to Metro Police, at about 11:45 local time, somebody went on a stabbing spree. They have reported multiple stabbing victims, both in front of the Palazzo as well as the Wynn. There are a couple of separate locations that the police are over right now. We're told that 6 people were hospitalized. There could be more stabbing victims, but unfortunately 1 person has also been killed. The suspect is in custody. This is an ongoing investigation, and it's something that we will definitely be receiving multiple updates from Metro Police to let us know exactly what happened here earlier today. From the Las Vegas Strip, I'm Steve Wolford.
Steve, of course, recording some material for newscasts to be played in Las Vegas in the hours ahead. As again, we get in information from our newsroom that that this is all of this unfolding in the last several hours as far as 4 incidents. So we'll pay close attention here to the Facebook Live and YouTube Live comment sections. If I can do my very best to offer a point of clarification, if I can bring in a comment where somebody makes an astute observation, I would like to bring those in momentarily, as we're now losing this feed, but hopefully gaining the one I was told that is just going to be coming in here in a few minutes. Porcupine, I see your comment on YouTube Live. Look, I don't. There is no reason to believe at this point in time. There is nothing that leads us to believe that any of these violent incidents are related. In and of itself, though, that in and of itself is a troubling thing. That you can wake up one day in this country and in 4 different areas of the country, whether it's Lexington, Kentucky, Dearborn, Michigan, Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, or the Las Vegas Strip, one of the most heavily visited places in the entire country, that you can have a incident of violence occur. It's of course extremely concerning that 4 separate incidents like that can happen on any given day. And quite frankly, that's not something that is out of the ordinary for this country. There are days where there are just violent incidents that occur in various different sections of the country. And this is just happens to be one of those days where we're seeing a lot of news pop up and a lot of feeds pop up connected to violent incidents. And I'm hoping this is the last one. The first one that we had was from Dearborn, then we heard, from DC, then it was Dearborn, then it was Lexington, and now a 4th incident in the last 3 to 4 hours. All of them coming from here in the United States. And I say here in the United States because our YouTube audience, we're currently live on YouTube. Hello to our YouTube audience, is international. We've got folks that join us from Australia, from Great Britain. We've got folks that join us from South Africa. I see all the time in our comment section people joining us from abroad. So there's of course a lot of folks in our comment section asking, is this normal for the United States? And unfortunately, I think that if you ask the average Joe, the average Jane, as far as the type of stories and the type of headlines that we see in this country, few people blink anymore when they see, a drive-by shooting, 4 people shot in Washington, D.C., or a stabbing incident in Las Vegas, Nevada. I mean, of course, it's utterly shocking that occurs, but it's unfortunately for so many people in this country, we've become so desensitized to all of the news that happens that are violent in nature that it's almost it's just too common. It's just happening too often in this country, and it's of course a serious situation that is connected to so many different themes that we have talked about here on WFLA Now. We have talked at great length about mental health. We have talked at great length about domestic situations that have been unfolding in our country, and how many domestic calls get called in to our law enforcement agencies across the country on an hourly or daily basis. These are themes of what is currently going on in this country that, of course, is extraordinarily alarming. And so, unfortunately, we're covering what appears to be a day where we have a good deal of violent incidents coming out as far as the news, as we're here again live from Las Vegas, Nevada, talking about the Strip. And again, this is the same path, so we'll stay here with you on this feed. This is the only feed that we currently have, but we're trying to get you feeds again from Dearborn, Michigan, and from Lexington, Kentucky, and Washington, D.C. Bonnie Patrick is in our YouTube live comment section and wants to know about the situation in Lexington, Kentucky. And let's go to the news report that I have. This was the information that I was talking about a short time ago. Okay, so they now are getting more clarity in Lexington, Kentucky. Our NBC sister station, WLEX, that's Lex 18 in Lexington, saying that shots have been fired, and that led to a very large police presence in Tate's Creek. That's a neighborhood in the Lexington area. Police believe that the report that they received was somewhere around the 1 o'clock, 1:30 time frame on Sherrard Circle. And when officers got to the scene, they saw evidence of gunshots, but say that no one was injured there. Police say that there was property damage present, but nobody was hurt, and the scene was quickly secured. Police say that despite initial reports, now this is important, despite initial reports, there was never a standoff or a suspect in the presence of police in Lexington. The original blast that went out to us, as we're now getting another feed. Let's take you live again to the Strip in Las Vegas. There was an initial report that came out from Lexington that said that there was, in fact, a barricaded suspect situation, or possible barricaded suspect situation, but that information proving to be erroneous. So Lexington, Kentucky There were shots fired, and there is a heavy police presence, and an investigation is currently underway. However, nobody is believed to have been shot in the Tates Creek neighborhood of Lexington, Kentucky, which is finally, and I can just say this now, that is finally some encouraging news with one of these, again, stories that we've been covering today. It's awful to hear about 4 shot in D.C. It's awful to hear about a person shot, and law enforcement now having to negotiate with the suspect in the Hampton Inn in Dearborn, Michigan. We're talking about, half a dozen people being stabbed here on the Las Vegas Strip. But at least we know, at least for now, as far as the shots that are fired in Lexington, Kentucky, that nobody has been injured in that incident as of this time. And of course, praying that that situation remains the same and that the suspect in that case is apprehended. As now we have multiple feeds. Let's show you the 2. This is from Las Vegas. So we have a wide shot, a shot that's far back. We have another shot here that is far more zoomed in and closer, and it shows the heavy police and fire presence that we have, again, in Las Vegas, Nevada. Extremely unfortunate to see an area that is, the amount of people that visit Las Vegas, and for there to be, as the reporter put it, a stabbing spree, extremely, extremely concerning. So, folks, what we are going to do is we're going to try to stay with you live on Facebook a little bit longer and address your comments. Again, for those of you who've been with us here before, interactively, what we do here on WFLA Now is that if you use the hashtag underneath my name on the left side of your screen, hashtag HeyJB, I can animate your comments on screen. Why do we do this? Give me a second to explain how this works. We do this because not everybody wants their name and their profile picture on a news broadcast or a news live stream. So if you want to point something out, if you want to ask a question, if there's something you want to say to me directly, you can use hashtag HeyJB. If you just want to comment with your fellow commenters and you don't want your comment to be spotlighted on a news stream like this, then just don't use the hashtag and we will let your comment continue to scroll on by. So we'll pay close attention to the Facebook Live and the YouTube Live comment sections for that hashtag. It kind of gets brighter on my screen. If you use the hashtag, it's a lot easier for me to see. And then, of course, I can pluck it, and we can pluck it out of the comment section. And, of course, we can animate it on screen. So going over here to Facebook Live, and I'm not seeing any hashtag comments as of yet. We'll go over here in the meantime to YouTube Live and see what folks are saying on YouTube. Yeah, this is the same report that I was reading. See, this is also great. Kat found the same information that I did for one of our commenters who was asking about Lexington. But yes, this information is accurate. Sherrard Circle, shots fired, no reported injuries, and the scene has been secured. Kat, you can come over here and do my job if you'd like. Really appreciate you spreading good information in our comment section. Mike, it's not for me really to provide an answer to this question. I know this is look. I will, Mike. What I will do is I will take your comment and pose it to our fellow commenters. Why do you think it? Look, I don't have any statistics to show. I don't have any statistics on the ready to show you and to demonstrate to you that incidents such as shootings and stabbings are on the rise. I don't have that at my fingertips. But of course, it feels here in this country like these incidents are increasing and that we're seeing a violent trend get more violent in this country. So I will take I've talked about themes such as, mental health. I've talked about, themes such as domestic violence on streams before. I mentioned it earlier on this particular live stream. But Mike, I'm just going to take your comment and throw it right back to our fellow commenters because it's not my opinion that matters. It's our commenters' opinions that matter. So you can use hashtag HeyJB to let us know why do you think that these incidents are increasing. If you believe that they are increasing, maybe you disagree with Mike. Maybe you just feel like this is the status quo, or maybe the violent trend or the violence that we've seen in this country is plateauing. In the meantime, I'll come back to that. Let's listen in live. They're checking the microphone because there is no audio on this feed right now. So that's why they're looking. Okay, the battery's good. Okay, batteries are good. Or maybe the batteries aren't good.
Sorry, give me a second, guys. There we go. Here it is.
Is it on?
Yeah, now it's on.
Okay. That? Okay.
I know because I've been in this exact situation. That is a loose XLR connection on that mic. Let's see if we've got it now.
On marchait sur le Las Vegas Boulevard. On était au milieu du boulevard, on descendait les marches. Et puis en descendant, on a vu 4 showgirls qui ricaнаient entre eux autres, qui avaient du plaisir. On continuait de marcher, tout d'un coup on a entendu un cri. On ne savait pas si c'était un cri de joie ou un cri de peur.
This is the news biz, folks. Checking connections, making sure things are working. They're trying to fix a loose connection on this microphone. Stand by.
Yes, so. Okay.
So they were walking on the strip here, and there was 4 showgirls all together. They were, what it seems to be laughing, but actually he noticed that they were actually screaming. And then he saw one of the girl. She climbed the stairs and she crossed the bridge running. He said she was running so fast he'd never seen a showgirl run that fast.
So these were the showgirls that have their pictures taken with people?
Yes. What?
Okay. And what happened after that? Did you see the guy with the knife? Was it a man with a knife?
Non, on n'a pas vu personne. Sauf on a entendu, en entendant le cri, on s'est retourné.
He didn't see anyone. Well, he heard some scream. They turned around to see, to try to see who it was. But it happened really fast, and all they saw was, like I said, the showgirl running. He saw another showgirl on the ground with a lot of blood pooling around her. There was her friend trying to help her. She was on top of her, and she was hurt on the back, but she didn't notice at first. And there was 100 feet away, that you mentioned earlier.
Okay. Yeah. So how close were you?
Around 10 feet. 10 feet.
10 feet.
Yeah.
So you saw this.
Yes.
What was going through your mind? Were you worried about your own safety?
Very difficult to tell. At first time we were very scared, and later we more nervous.
Okay. It looks like we need to vacate. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Places right here on the corner of Southwest and the Boulevard. What's the name of it? It's right in front of.
So the audio definitely broke up a little bit there as we were trying to listen in, but our commenters pointing out on YouTube Live that that the accent there was French Canadian, and that of course was a obviously from what you heard that was a witness account. Here's the police telling the media, I think, to move back. Let's just listen in for a second.
Or go around the backside of it, you know, like Melton Davis, the fashion show. It's 1 o'clock, dude. No, we're just walking around.
Okay, because we need some access.
Yeah, you guys will have it. They're just doing a media brief over here on that southwest corner of Fashion Show in Las Vegas Boulevard.
Okay, so
where that pin is right there. So there should be a little chicken kind of place, and then Capitol Grill above it, and it's going to have like the big staircase.
So that is likely somebody in the public information office for Las Vegas police, or somebody who is delivering information on behalf of that department, letting them know that a media briefing is going to be happening. And what this is very common for this type of situation where they set up a media staging area, and this is a singular access point, because what will happen so many times with breaking news is that you have news stations that are coming from different sides of town, and then you have, if the situation is in the middle, and then you have, of course, all the news stations responding on different corners or different intersections, they can be, of course, in separate locations. That makes it very difficult for the police to get out accurate information in one singular, concise, and efficient manner. So what they will do is they'll set up a media staging area to have all the media come to one point where they can hold press conferences and keep the public updated on information. That's what you just saw there, getting all the media in one spot together so that they can, of course, deliver information in one area rather than in several. As now, we have now lost this feed because they're moving. So the camera crew now is disconnected. They're moving to a different spot. And now we've got a new feed popping in, and I'm just gonna, before I say that it's a certain town and be completely wrong, I'm gonna check and refresh our portal here to ensure that what I'm about to show you is the right place. And this feed is so new that they haven't even blasted out a location for it yet. So stand by, folks, as we communicate with our team here as to what this new feed is that is just now coming into our newsroom. In the meantime, things much more peaceful right now in Tampa Bay. This is live from our tower cam here. And what we will do is what we're going to do is we're going to stay live with you for another 5 minutes on Facebook Live and monitor if another feed comes in. We're hoping that it does. In fact, I'm not sure even what this feed is that I'm looking at here presently. But we'll stay here with you live on Facebook Live for another few minutes and answer as many questions there. YouTube Live as well. We're going to stay here with you live a little bit longer and try to bring you as many feeds that come into our newsroom as possible. Again, with 4 separate situations that are currently unfolding in this country. So let's go back over to Facebook Live. We've got Lori Rose, who just very simply is saying, and Lori, if I can get your comment on screen, believe me, I will animate it. I think there it is. Yep. Hashtag KJB prayers for our country. A very, very simple but meaningful comment, considering that we have 4 shot in DC, one shot in Dearborn, Michigan, and then half dozen stabbed on the Las Vegas Strip. I want to point out that again, it's our law enforcement personnel that are responding to these, and the situation in Dearborn is especially dangerous right now because, of course, they have an armed suspect behind a barricade in a hotel, and somebody is negotiating. Of course, they're doing everything they can. Law enforcement is always going to look out for their own safety in addition, and first and foremost, the safety of others. However, this is law enforcement putting themselves in harm's way, responding to these calls, responding to these extremely dangerous situations, and quite literally putting their own lives on the line to keep their communities safe. So, yeah, a lot of love and support and praise is coming in for law enforcement, and we're of course passing along our just look what they do on a day-to-day. Some stories get coverage, others don't. How many stories in this country do you think happen all the time? How many responses are there by law enforcement that don't get an ounce of media coverage because it's just not accessible to us here in the media? Happens all the time. In fact, probably 99.9 something % of calls in this country, responses by law enforcement, don't get a shred of media attention and really otherwise go unknown to the public at large because, of course, we can only cover so much, and there are certain calls that don't rise to the level of there being immediate media attention. We do our very best here as far as journalists to cover it all, but there's no way to be in every place at once. There's no way to do that. So we do our very best to bring you the stories that matter. But while a story that matters to the public at large, there's so many other stories that matter to individuals or certain neighborhoods of our country that otherwise go overlooked. We're very cognizant, or I can speak for myself, I'm very cognizant of that. And so we do our very best to bring you the stories that matter. And in so many of those stories, it's law enforcement putting themselves in harm's way to keep their communities safe. Getting in here and yeah, so the feed that we're talking about, okay, so now we have another feed popping up. What is this? Oh, goodness. Okay, so we have now, well, this one is not an incident related to gunfire or stabbing, but we now have another feed coming in. Stand by. So this is Ariel's now coming in, and excuse me, Lori, while we put away your comment here for a second. This is now Ariel's that just came into our newsroom from our sister station, Wavy. And I'll read this report here because this is now a new developing story at this hour. A small plane crash at Newport Williamsburg International Airport The crash occurring a short time ago, call coming in at 3:22 p.m. That's going to be Eastern time, so that's less than an hour ago. The extent of injuries is unknown, and of course, we now have a chopper in the air with a feed that we're about to show you here momentarily. There's Wavy's chopper, the tail cam, or at least there it appears to be back. And so this feed just came in, and I'm hoping tail cam, again, giving you guys some inside baseball here, but tail cam can be used as a way to let news stations across the country know that they are returning to the airport. It's not like that's not how it's universally used. Sometimes it's just used because it's used for other purposes such as branding. However, I'm not sure if this chopper has made it. Hold on a second. Yeah, see, our team is communicating with me here at WFLA. We don't know if this chopper is on the way to the plane crash or just left the plane crash. But look, we're gonna stay with it and bring you updates, considering it is a live feed that just came in. As we're live here on stream, we can do so. And again, this is from Newport News Williamsburg International Airport in Newport News, Virginia, in the Wavy DMA. So a small Cessna airplane that went down, and there are injuries reported. But again, we don't know if the chopper is leaving the scene or heading to the scene. They're now switching from tail cam to their primary camera and scanning the skies. And now they're showing a strip. And zooming in on what might be the airport in question. So we'll stay here with you on this feed, folks, on a very, very, very busy afternoon here at WFLA Now. Let's say hello again to our YouTube Live audience. Sean Letty wants to know, #AJB, did they get the guy in Michigan? We'll come back to that in a second. We'll, of course, revisit Dearborn, Michigan, whether or not we get a feed. That's the story right now that we are following the most closely, because it's still very active as negotiations are currently underway. But this feed now, they are now clearly just getting to this airport. And you can see their first responders on your screen. There's the tower. And again, this is, one more time, never been to this airport. I did cover news in Virginia for a very short time, very, very, very short time in my career, but I was never in this area of Virginia. Newport News, Williamsburg International Airport. And this feed now switching from tail cam and also some signal interference here. So, folks, this is a live feed. Anything can happen at any moment, including signal interruptions. So we'll stay here with it live as we continue to monitor your questions with #AJB, your comments with #AJB in the Facebook Live and YouTube Live comment section. Okay. Trini Jam, I'm going to need, with this type of comment, I'm going to need, I think this meant to say how many victims were there, but we're talking about multiple news stories on this live stream. So I'm going to usually, look, most of our live streams are single topic, or sometimes we will start on one story, end on another. We have now moved on to our 5th news story in this live stream, and bouncing around from different sections of the country to bring you live coverage of these developing news stories in their respective locales. But I don't know what you're talking about here, Trini. I'll go over it really quickly. 4 victims in D.C., 4 victims shot. We've got the 1 victim in Dearborn, Michigan, where the, of course, barricaded suspect is in the hotel at this moment. We do not know how many injuries, how many victims there were at this particular plane crash. The Lexington, Kentucky story There's no one injured in that particular one. And then in Las Vegas, 1 dead, 6 stabbed on the Las Vegas Strip. That's a brief summary of how many victims we're talking about here with all of the news stories that we're covering this afternoon. Sean, hopefully I just answered all that. I can come back to that if you'd like. Again, here for you folks. Hashtag AJB if there's a certain story that you want updates on. We did just get a comment from somebody asking about what's going on currently, again, in Dearborn, Michigan, and we'll get an update here from our sister station. In fact, here it is. One victim taken to the hospital, active negotiations still ongoing. Yep. And in fact, our team sending me a message here, and a big shout out to Heather, who's helping me out here as far as balancing, juggling all of these news stories at the moment. They're continuing to remind people in Dearborn to stay away from, of course, the Hampton Inn, that street, as they've closed off that street, but saying that the negotiations are ongoing. They're trying to, and I'll read it. Update. Dearborn police are still negotiating with the suspect in the hotel, working towards a peaceful resolution. We continue to ask people to stay away from downtown Dearborn as the situation is fluid and could change. So that's the update currently from Dearborn. That tweet coming in 7 minutes ago. So the chopper with Wavy is keeping a bit of a distance. That could be for one of several different reasons. If it's if it's a situation where you're talking about, a particular category of airspace and they're not able to get much closer. But this is, again, a small single engine, or it's not even, they don't say single engine. I'm used to saying single engine. But I'm just going to read it as follows because I am not an aircraft expert. But a small Cessna airplane that has gone down with injuries. That's usually a single-engine aircraft. 3:22 p.m., according to Virginia State Police, and that there are injuries, which, of course, you just hate to hear about. Sometimes we cover plane crashes or extremely hard landings due to, single-engine aircraft having problems in the air and them having to make a landing on, a strip of grass or on even on a street. With vehicles on it, with cars on it. And then, of course, we're talking about minor injuries as we have now. An interior shot with the reporter from Wavy, who I'm sure is preparing for a live report. Let's listen in. Let's bring up the audio on this feed. It's just, of course, radio signal traffic, chopper signal coming through on the microphone channel. So that's not something that we're going to be listening in for, although we might be able to hear this chopper reporter here momentarily. I'm sure that he is getting information in his ear as to what's currently being communicated to him on the ground. But I don't have access to his audio path. So you're going to see him talk and not provide much audio. Well, I might be able to work some. Hold on a second. I might be able to work something out here. No, nothing there on that channel. Okay, I'm just going through various different channels right now to bring you guys some audio. That's all there is. So we'll come back to this shot. Otherwise, we're awkwardly staring at this reporter who is, preparing for a live report on television. We'll come back to this feed when we have when they switch the path over to something that isn't him preparing for live television. In the meantime, this is live from Tampa, Florida. And we'll, of course, come back and we'll bounce back to other feeds with the multitude of stories that we are following at this hour. Facebook Live, I think we're going to be wrapping up here momentarily, but what I'm going to do for our Facebook Live audience on the WFLA Facebook Live comment section, I'm going to put a link to our YouTube page where the conversation continues. And here's Facebook streaming and YouTube streaming work differently. If there's another significant update from Dearborn, Lexington, Kentucky, Washington, D.C., or here in Virginia, or maybe the Las Vegas Strip, one of the 5 stories that we're covering in this live stream, we will re-engage our Facebook Live audience with a new live stream. But for those of you who are looking for continuous coverage, nonstop coverage, even though I might be just answering questions for the next 15 minutes or so, you can click on the YouTube link in the comment section on this video. And of course, we will take you over to the WFLA YouTube page where we will continue to engage with our audience here live. Okay, wait. I'm getting an update here. Got it. Okay. Update from Dearborn as I was just about to end things on Facebook. This is from the WFLA newsroom. All Detroit hotel rooms, the hotel rooms there in Detroit and Dearborn, they were evacuated to the best of police ability. Police have been imploring the suspect, to come out peacefully, and they say that it had started as a hotel dispute over money. And that's all I've got. We're hoping to be able to bring you a new live feed from Dearborn, Michigan. But again, one more time, new information. The hotel rooms were evacuated to the best of the ability of police. They have been imploring him to come out peacefully, and that this started as a hotel dispute over money, again in Dearborn, Michigan, and reaffirming their message to the public to avoid the area at all costs. Do not go into the area in Dearborn, Michigan. No feed to bring you, folks, but we're going to end the Facebook stream here now. To our audience who's looking for nonstop coverage, you can go over to the WFLA YouTube page. We'll continue the conversation there. On Facebook Live, we will be relaunching Facebook if we do get new information or a new live feed to bring you from Dearborn, Las Vegas, or one of the other areas of the country that we're covering for developing news at this hour. In the meantime, folks, as we say farewell to Facebook Live, we of course, will stay here with you on the story of a small Cessna aircraft, a small Cessna plane crashing in Virginia. And of course, that's the response that you're looking at here on your screen. All right, so saying hello to our YouTube audience and checking back in with you guys. Let's see here. Melinda, thank you for your comment. Really appreciate it. While we're here live on YouTube alone, a new batch of emails has gone out for our next group of potential applicants for moderating the WFLA YouTube page. I think that our moderators, or current moderators, will agree that, of course, it's a good opportunity for us as our channel grows and we engage with new people around the world, that we get, of course, a good supply and a good group of moderators that are willing to help us out as far as keeping our comment section welcoming and respectful to all. So if you have emailed me directly, and you can still do so, you can email me directly. There is a process that you have to go through, and it's a new and updated process for our current moderators. There's now an even more stringent process for becoming a WFLA YouTube moderator. You can email me at jbuno, my first initial, last name, jbuno@wfla.com. The WFLA app. We've been hearing feedback from our YouTube Live audience that they want more moderators to be able to help out as far as filtering through some of the negativity and the inappropriate and disrespectful comments that come in. No matter what comment section you go to on the internet, you're going to find that type of activity. So if you're interested in becoming a moderator, there is there's a lengthy process you got to go through. Somewhat lengthy. It's not terrible, but it's somewhat lengthy to become a moderator. And you can email me for details at jbuno@wfla.com. If you were one of the people that did send me a message and wish to apply during Hurricane Ian coverage, you wanted to help out with moderating, check your inboxes. You likely have a message from me with details on how to become a moderator. Again, we don't make everybody moderators. We look for, certain criteria and look for certain people to be able to do that job because we take moderating very, very seriously. Not all comments are to be removed, or not all comments are subject to moderation, but we do our very best here to provide a welcoming experience for all. I'm getting a lot of messages about Laredo, Texas. And I'm not seeing. Can somebody please specify what they're talking about as far as which news story out of Laredo? I'm unfamiliar with that news story. Can't do it all, folks. We try, of course, to bring you stories from across the country, and but that one I'm unfamiliar with. So if our audience could please help us out. But I've seen multiple comments about Laredo, Texas, from like Ageless Beauty here. Hashtag AJB, any updates on what's happening in Laredo, Texas? I do not. You have to specify about which comment, or excuse me, which story that you're talking about. Sudi, hashtag AJB, has there been any rumblings from the White House or from the FBI? I'll keep an eye on our comment section, excuse me, our feed grid here to see, look, when there's multiple instances of violence, including in our nation's capital today with 4 people shot in Washington, D.C., it's not out of the ordinary for the White House press secretary to field a question about, a random spike in violent incidents. And so if that press conference does become available to us, we can go check in if our commenters would like. Okay, this is... Stand by, folks. You've got to be kidding. Okay. News coming in now of a 6th story that we're going to try to be bringing you on this live stream. Absolutely wild. An NYPD CAR, New York police vehicle, has struck a crowd of people, and 4 people have been seriously hurt. This is coming from NBC4 New York, and we might have a feed coming in here momentarily showing everybody. Again, I'll read this here for you. This is breaking. NYPD vehicle striking a group of people in the Bronx Thursday afternoon, including a child. The car was responding to a reported larceny when it was cut off in traffic. The driver of the NYPD vehicle swerved and hit the pedestrians at the intersection of Howe Avenue and Westchester Avenue. 4 people hit. One law enforcement source describing the injuries as serious. This is absolutely first and foremost just a terrible story involving an NYPD, a law enforcement vehicle, going into a crowd of people and a child among the 4 injured. But if you're sitting at home in disbelief, let me assure you, you are not alone, because I'm sitting here in disbelief too. This is now a total of 6 news stories that we are following involving injuries or look, Lexington, Kentucky was not, thankfully there were no injuries reported there, but that was originally reported to be, and it still is, it's a shooting that occurred, shots fired in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm very grateful to hear that it is not serious over there. That's the least serious of the 6 that we're covering. But this is now another one coming into the newsroom. And now I'm getting more details from people about what's going on in Laredo. I I think I have seen that report. I don't have any feeds for it, but I have been told that a feed is incoming from New York City, from the Bronx, showing the scene where a NYPD vehicle went into a crowd of people. And again, let me break this down, because they say that the car and the driver of the NYPD vehicle was responding to a report of larceny when it was cut off in traffic. So we, this is why, and we don't know the situation with this this is new as of just a couple of minutes ago, but this is also why tactically we see such deliberate actions by responding law enforcement vehicles, because in responding to certain situations, it's so easy for a responding vehicle to encounter a situation where the public is in harm's way. We had a situation here in the Tampa Bay area recently where and you might have been on the live stream with us here a short time ago, folks. I forget what day it was, but we had the video. Might have been Tuesday. We had the video of a vehicle, a stolen Maserati being driven by a group of teenagers. The police attempt to pull over that Maserati, and the Maserati ends up going 123 miles per hour, speeding away from law enforcement, who keep their distance because they have a helicopter in the air. But this is just some of the decision making that goes into real-time responses when it comes to the tactics of a developing situation. So we'll get more information, I'm sure, about this car and how exactly it was cut off in traffic and how it swerved into pedestrians, but it did so at the intersection of Howe and Westchester Aves in the Bronx. Again, I'm just looking over here. I'm waiting for that feed to come in so I can bring it to you, folks, but look, I'm going to say this. These are all appear to be separate, unrelated incidents. They're separate, unrelated incidents as things stand right now. Look, and while it just appears to be particularly bad and particularly overwhelming with the amount of news that's come in the last few hours about there being serious situations, whether it's from Dearborn to Las Vegas to New York City, New York. By all indications at this time, everything is just, it is just a terrible sequence of events that are occurring on a very, very, very difficult to process Thursday afternoon here in the United States. Just terrible. As we still have the feed here, folks, from Virginia, the chopper's still in the air, showing and I think that's where the plane is, folks. We can't hear this reporter, but the plane, I think, appears to be off of the runway near that wooded area. We'll come back to that. And still no feed from New York. Let's see. To Mike in the comment section, I did not see that. But I'm looking it up. Mike, I see you. This is Mike Lichniak, a former colleague of mine. Proud to call him a friend. #AJB. Did you guys see the news about the president issuing a pardon of all federal simple marijuana possession? And this has all been unfolding on a very busy day, as you know, Mike, I'm sure in your newsroom. Mike, a meteorologist, but I know the newsroom that he works in very, very well because it used to be my newsroom. And I'll read this as follows. President Joe Biden Thursday granting a pardon to all people convicted of simple marijuana possession under federal law in what amounts to the most extensive White House action taken to date on U.S. drug policy. This coming from Politico. The president urging governors to take similar action for state offenses of civil possession of marijuana. In addition, calling on the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Attorney General to expeditiously review how marijuana is scheduled under federal law. Currently, marijuana is classified as a Schedule I narcotic, meaning it's deemed to have no medical use and a high potential for abuse. Heroin and LSD are other Schedule I drugs. So the White House pushing for not just, obviously, pardons for all people convicted of simple marijuana possession under federal law, but also to recategorize marijuana and get it in a less serious category, or schedule as they call it, than more potent narcotics such as heroin and LSD. Mike, thanks. I'll text you after the stream, man. I hope you're good, bud. Again, awaiting a feed from New York City, New York, as we monitor this developing story of a New York City law enforcement vehicle, an NYPD vehicle, going into a crowd of people, injuring 4, including a child. The feed of the scene, as we've been told, is coming into our newsroom shortly, and as soon as we have it, we will, of course, pass it along to you and bring it up here live on screen. Andy, I can, as we await this feed, I can answer your question. Hashtag HJB, how's the recovery been going in Florida? Look, officials on the ground are working really, really quickly, but even as of yesterday, people are still being rescued. We had one story where there was there were victims of Hurricane Ian that were trapped inside of their home because their hurricane shutters were electronic, and when they lost power, they lost the ability for their shutters to be released and for them to be able to get out of their home. So as far as recovery, we're still getting into recovery. There's still rescues going on. So first, it's about rescuing everybody in Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel Island, on Pine Island, and all these places that have been significantly impacted. It's about helping those on the ground and then recovering the area, rebuilding the area, which is going to take years, if not a half decade or more. The priority right now is establishing temporary bridge access for those barrier islands, and then restoring power to the greater Fort Myers area, including those barrier islands. But my goodness, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be a long time. Yeah, Duty Ron. I see a Duty Ron, of course, retired New York law enforcement, joining us, and a friend of ours here on the stream, saying from NBC4, yeah, NYPD vehicle struck 4 people in the Bronx, responding to a larceny report, cut off the operator of that vehicle, swerved, hit pedestrians at the intersection of Howe and Westchester Avenues. I do not, of course, I grew up in New York City. I grew up in Queens. I don't know the Bronx well enough to know this particular intersection. But to think that there is an intersection where a NYPD vehicle swerved into a group of people, your heart sinks. Ron, I'm sure it's the same. If, for you, I mean, you're just thinking about how terrible of a scene that must be, how terrible of a situation that must be. And I'm sure, I'm very curious to know how it all happened at this intersection. It could have been anybody. It could have been, with that type of situation, with a law enforcement response, Ron and others, I'm sure that it could have been a similar situation where somebody else on the road, not even the NYPD vehicle, a vehicle is swerving to get out of the way of traffic and goes into, pedestrians. Vehicle versus pedestrian accidents are obviously extraordinarily more common in a place like New York City rather than your average run-of-the-mill town in the United States. So while you just hate to hear about this, especially involving a child, a group of 4 injured, including a child, your heart just sinks. And we hope to have that feed for you from NBC4 New York momentarily. Wispy Bliss Farms. What we do here, I want to explain this to our audience. What we do here is very, very experimental at WFLA now. I use the word experimental because this is still an experiment as far as us being able to bring you news as it happens. Look, the traditional model of news is there's news that unfolds over the course of the day, and then you tune in at 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock for your local news to get a summation of the day's events to find out what happened in your area of the country in that particular day. But people don't wait for their evening or nightly news anymore to find out what happened. It's very rare. Even the generation that used to do that has access to news at all times of the day at their fingertips. So this is our stream center here is an advent of us being able to bring you and coverage of news stories as they happen. As we're currently waiting on this live feed to come in, this is what we do here at WFLA Now, as far as bringing you news as it happens and interacting with you live as it occurs, so that A, we can answer your questions, B, we can establish a reputable and credible place for information and weave and make sure that you're able to weave through all the misinformation on the internet, and C, make sure that your voice is heard. We animate your comments on screen for this reason. So that's a little bit of why we do what we do. There's a lot of news happening. This is another one, but if I have access in my system to any news. The Stockton, California serial killings. Yeah, I'm going to be very honest with our audience. I'm familiar with this story. Clown is asking. Oh, clownfish in the profile picture. Clown is asking about this story. I do not know enough about it to confidently report on it at this time. I'm familiar enough with it to know its existence, but as far as as far as the story itself, I will read this from what I have in our system. It's a serial killer seeming to be quote unquote on a mission throughout the fatal shooting of 6 men and the wounding of 1 woman dating back to last year, linking the crimes to, or evidence linking the crimes to Stockton and Oakland, about 70 miles apart. A quote from the police chief in Stockton saying, quote unquote, "We don't know what the motive is. What we do believe is that it's mission oriented." Wow. So again, it's difficult to cover every story at once. This is something that we're going to be looking into. There's no doubt. As we go through our comment section. Let's see here. To Clay in our comment section, that is not my purpose. That's not the type of news I cover. I'm covering. Look, I specialize in breaking news. I specialize in interactive journalism. That news story that you're referencing, I'm sure that there are endless channels on the internet more than willing to talk about it at a great length. But if you're looking for me to talk about it, you have come to the wrong place. Let's see here. Looking at other commenters. It's got to have hashtag AJB for me to reference it and put it out, put it on screen. We're hearing reports from one of our affiliates in Las Vegas that, and I'll put this out. This is from Vanessa Murphy on Twitter. Sources telling Vanessa Murphy, one of our reporting colleagues, that sources saying that 2 victims have died in the Las Vegas shooting, or stabbing. Excuse me. So the stabbing spree in Las Vegas on the Strip. Sources are saying now that a second person is dead. Just absolutely terrible. SC Barberi. I'm trying to get to that report. We have 2 affiliated stations in New York. And sometimes, look, some stations get information quicker than others. Yeah. Where it was SC Barbieri. Yeah, this is accurate. NBC New York is reporting 10 people hurt, including a child, 5 seriously injured after an NYPD car strikes a crowd in the Bronx. Again, awaiting that feed coming in at some point. And look, if you've been in New York City, it can be difficult to get to a particular news scene in a very short amount of time. Traffic it's the traffic capital of the country, if not the world. So getting to this intersection, I'm sure our news crews are on the way. But as we do await that feed, 10 people injured, 5 seriously, and included among the 10, 2 police officers. They've been taken to local hospitals. Fire officials say that 4 people critically injured and another person suffered serious injuries as well. So a lot of descriptors here being off because we have 5 seriously injured, but then they're saying 4 are critically injured and another seriously injured. Various law enforcement officials, fire rescue departments across the country will use the serious versus critically injured descriptors in different means. Critically injured generally means that it is a potentially life-threatening situation. Serious injuries, I've always categorized it as 1 tier down from critically injured. So that you can read into that what you want. But 4 critically injured, according to NBC New York, according to fire officials that they spoke to, another person seriously injured. And among the overall 10 injured are 2 police officers and 1 child. Unreal. With the story that is developing out of New York. Unknown with this report as well. Secondary, but again, the car responding to a reported larceny, and whether or not this was near the scene of that larceny, or whether or not that the larceny incident, whether or not that was at all involved, is unclear. But clearly and obviously, a distant secondary to what's currently unfolding with the 10 injured in New York City. Possums, I see your comment. I just don't want to animate it on screen because those 2 words are different to me. And those words mean something different to me. So I'll just address that directly in that fashion. And waiting for this live feed to come through here, folks. Thank you to our moderators in our comment section. Really appreciate Michelle, Bug Love. Thank you, guys. Naomi says, watching from the UK. Look, I don't. When was the last time the UK had this amount of, I mean, all over the map, this volume of news stories involving fatalities or injuries. I mean, I don't live in the UK. I don't follow UK news. I think if you watched my coverage of, Queen Elizabeth II passing away, you probably learned very, very quickly that that UK news is not really in my wheelhouse. I do my very best to spotlight some of our commenters from across the pond, but that is as foreign to me as really any country. I don't cover news in any other country, obviously, than the United States. While we do delve into international affairs, I don't know the day-to-day occurrences in a country like the UK. But I do know that folks from the UK do stay informed a lot to news in the United States, and that this day in particular has to be especially eyebrow-raising when you're talking about all of these various events occurring in different sections of the country. I'm going to queue up this feed. I'm going to queue it up so that as soon as it comes in from New York, that we have it. Twinkles, Star, hashtag HJB, what's going on in this world? So much violence. Beast, I see your... Let's go back to the Michigan story. And when we're juggling this volume of news story, folks, I usually get help as far as staying up to date with all the multiple stories that we're juggling. Can't do it all by myself. There's no control room here, no producer in my ear, so... But I do have help from our newsroom staff. I would love to have another feed. I'm trying everybody to get the most updated information on multiple stories that we're following here. So everybody, please be patient. I ask that you please be patient because we're juggling a lot with this one stream. Okay, New York is up. Live from New York City, stand by. To our audience, I'll be taking a step away for the next 2 to 3 minutes as we reset our stream for multiple platforms. Stand by.
What's that?
Maybe they'll talk to them. Yeah. Is that I got to tell them who they're working with.
Okay, cool, man.
Easier if you tell them who they're walking in with us.
Yeah. Hey, I gotcha. Yeah, road cue to the VO, feet away from a building, road cue to the side, described what he saw. Thank you. Again, police telling us there was no chase involved here. Officers were responding to a theft in progress at the time of the accident. Hey man, I got you, dude. Hey, what's up, dude? How you doing? Good, man. Well, Adam, over the last hour or so, witnesses have been describing a loud boom from the impact of the crash. Over the last hour or so, witnesses have been telling us they heard a loud boom from the impact of the crash. FDNY tells us 4 of the 10 victims are in critical condition. Witnesses say they saw them on the ground. Sidewalk. The impact of the crash also knocked a pole to the ground just feet away from a building. Police tell us officers were headed to a theft in progress. Car cut them off at the intersection of Cone and West Junction around 3 p.m. Patrol car swerved, ended up on the sidewalk, and hit several people, including a child. Not clear yet how fast the patrol car was going at the time of the crash, but police were saying there was no chase involved here. Those are 2 officers, 2 cars, one of them described what he saw.
as we welcome you back to the Stream Center, folks. Clearly, we have lost the feed from NBC New York. We were about to launch our feed across all platforms on WFLA now. However, the feed, oh, it's back. Let's go back to it.
From a building. Police tell us officers were headed to a theft in progress when a car cut them off at the intersection of Hoe and Westchester around 3 p.m. The patrol car swerved, ended up on the sidewalk, and hit several people, including a child. It's not clear yet how fast the patrol car was going at the time of the crash, but police are saying there was no chase involved here. Among the injured are 2 officers and the 2 people in the car. One witness described what he saw. Again, police telling us here there was no chase involved regarding this crash. They also say that officers were responding to a theft call when that crash happened. We do expect to get another update from NYPD. We'll bring that information to you as soon as we get it. For now, reporting live in the Longwood section, Chris Jose, News 4 New York.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JV Buno.
Developing in the Bronx, New York, as we now lose our feed. We hope to have it back for you here momentarily, folks, on WFLA Now. This is actually a feed that we just lost access to a moment ago, showing you the scene in the Bronx, New York, where an NYPD vehicle struck a group of people this afternoon, a short time ago, leaving 10 people hurt, including a child. The car was responding to a theft report when it was cut off in traffic, the driver swerving and hitting pedestrians at the intersection of Hoe Avenue and Westchester Avenue around 3 o'clock in the Longwood section. You just heard the reporter there, if you caught the beginning of our relaunched live streaming coverage, that there was no chase involved, but an NYPD officer behind the wheel of an NYPD vehicle was responding to the scene of a theft when was cut off at the intersection and causing the vehicle to swerve into a group of pedestrians. That led to 10 overall injuries. Now, included in those injuries are 2 of the officers, a child also included. Now, the exact descriptors, how this applies to the 10 overall, we don't know, but fire officials say that 4 people critically injured and an additional person seriously injured. We do know that the 2 officers had minor injuries, and the child's injuries, we do not know exactly how bad they were, but that's the latest that we have from the ground in New York City, New York. We did have a live feed. That live feed has since cut out. Unfortunately, we hope to have, of course, that feed back here momentarily. For those of you joining us on Facebook Live, we'll try our very best to break down the information, but without a live feed, it's hard and difficult for us to be able to show you exactly what is going on the streets of the Bronx right now. There was clearly a very large scene with a lot of people looking at the scene. Again, the scene involving an NYPD vehicle that was responding. We don't know at what rate of speed, but an NYPD vehicle that was responding to a theft report cut off at an intersection. Believe me, I can tell you from someone who has driven around in New York quite a bit, getting cut off at a New York City intersection is something that is very, very common. In this case, it caused the NYPD officer to swerve off to the side of the road and into a group of pedestrians. Those pedestrians, including a child among them, 10 overall injured, including the 2 officers. And again, various people taken to the hospital with injuries. 4 people critically injured, another person seriously injured, the 2 officers themselves minor injuries, according to fire officials. So what we will be doing without an additional live feed, we're going to be ending this Facebook stream, but you can check out WFLA.com, the WFLA app, for further updates on this developing story, again, out of the Bronx in New York City. Back here with you live on WFLA Now. As we just did that break-in across all platforms, you might have noticed that the moment that we hit the breaking news alert, the feed went out. And then we ended our Facebook live stream, and we ended our stream across other various platforms. And now, as we, of course, re-engage you, the feed is back. So this feed, again, from New York City, New York, I'm not sure exactly why it cut out when it did. That's the second time it did so. NBC News New York sending this out. NBC4 New York sending this out. And this is what we have now. We've also just gotten in this video. This is from NBC New York. So let's show everybody this feed and take a look at what we're talking about here. 10 people injured by an NYPD car responding to the report of a theft. Among the 10 injured, a child. The child's injury is unclear at this time. 4 critically injured, 1 seriously injured, according to fire officials on the ground. 2 officers, minor injuries. As we look here at that appears to be a walker or a shopping cart of some kind. A walking cart, I think is fair to say. Stand by for updates. JB here with you live, folks, in the WFLA Now Stream Center. It has been a very busy afternoon as we've been monitoring a lot of different stories from different cities and towns across the country. What we are going to do now is recap where we are with every single story so that you are up to date with the most current information that we have coming in from these respective cities. We're going to start here with New York. This is the most current and developing news story at this hour. An NYPD vehicle responding to a report of theft in the Bronx at Ho and, the other intersection, Ho and Westchester Avenues, around 3 o'clock this afternoon, swerved because of another driver that, according to police, cut them off at an intersection. The NYPD vehicle swerved into a group of pedestrians. You can see some of the aftermath here, including a child. The extent of the child's injuries unknown, but 10 overall injuries, including the officers who had 2 minor injuries. Outside of the officers, outside of the child, we also have this overall description of the injured that fire officials describe as 4 critically injured and another person seriously injured as well. Again, the officers with minor injuries. This is in the Longwood section of the Bronx, New York. Just an absolutely terrible story here. Allow us to now recap the other stories that are currently unfolding at this hour. And next, we take you back to Dearborn, Michigan, for, again, a gunman that has barricaded himself inside the Hampton Inn, a Dearborn hotel on the main section of the main street of town. A gunman fired shots and barricaded himself inside of the hotel in downtown Dearborn. And this now being updated and being communicated to us through law enforcement officials that this occurred over a dispute with staff members about money. So, not exactly sure who this person is in the hotel in Dearborn, whether or not they're an employee or a guest, a visitor of some kind, or somebody who's connected to the staff of the hotel. But here's the exact quote from the Dearborn police chief, Issa Shaheen. It says, there was some type of dispute with the hotel staff or the clerk. It revolved around money. It happened at 109 today at the Hampton Inn on Michigan Avenue. That's the main street there through downtown Dearborn. The suspect is contained, and they're actively negotiating with the suspect still at this hour. The police chief says that the firearm that they have, as far as that suspect, is a long gun. A long gun is most commonly a rifle. We're talking about a rifle. So that's the situation in Dearborn, Michigan. Over in Washington, D.C., on North Capitol Street, 4 men injured in a drive-by shooting. That was the initial report that had us prepare this live stream. That occurred on the 1200 block of North Capitol Street, just south of New York Avenue Northwest. First responders were there at that, of course, at that area at the scene for a long time. A bullet there, according to NBC4 Washington, a bullet narrowly missing a man who uses a wheelchair. And instead, it hit a small speaker that he had tucked under his arm. Are you kidding? Guy in a wheelchair near this drive-by shooting, and the bullet just misses him and hits an item that he's carrying on his person, that being that being a small speaker that he was carrying on the wheelchair. The men there described a 21-year-old shot in the back, 27-year-old shot in the groin, 28-year-old shot in the rear end, and a 36-year-old shot in the arm. The shooter or shooters appeared to have opened fire from a car, and police are still seeking a Kia sedan that may have 2 people inside responsible for that. We now have a live feed to show you. Showing you, this is live from New York, and we are going to be preparing to take this live across all platforms. This is a press conference that is now, when we were talking earlier about media staging areas, this is what you're seeing unfold right before your very eyes. This is a media staging area and a press conference that is getting set up for NYPD to address the 10 people injured by an NYPD car responding to the scene of a theft. The last story before we reset here in just a moment, Now 2 people dead, confirmed by multiple outlets. 2 people dead, 6 wounded in a stabbing attack on the Las Vegas Strip. It happened in front of the Wynn Casino, the 3100 block of South Las Vegas Boulevard. Suspect is in custody. 2 dead, 6 injured, 3 of the surviving victims in critical condition, and the weapon was a large kitchen knife recovered at the scene. We had witnesses that we were hearing from earlier on the stream talk about the blood that they saw at the scene. I would imagine for anyone, whether you're a tourist or whether you're somebody who lives in Las Vegas, that has to be just an extremely disturbing scene to see somebody just stabbing people on the Las Vegas Strip. Lexington, Kentucky, not really on our radar anymore as we kind of shift our priorities right now to these major news stories that we are covering over the course of the day here at WFLA Now. And we're going to take you live here to this press conference as soon as it begins here momentarily. I'll be taking a step away from the microphone to reset for our streaming audience across multiple platforms. You're watching live on WFLA Now.
How much time do we have? Are you doing another? We'll see it about. No, I thought we're setting up the press conference.
Let's do sound. How am I on my left? Am I in the center? Everybody's good on sound? On my right? Okay, everybody just silence the cell phones, and obviously when we do this, there'll be a Q&A at the end. Wait for me to call on you. Do not shout out a question. Or understood? I will get to you. Okay? All right. Is everybody good? You need one more second to plug in? Everybody's good to go in about 10 seconds?
We're starting in 10 seconds? Yes. Oh, hey. They're about to start. They're about to start. Gotta go.
But just stay straight. Don't have your back. That way. No, stay there. You want me to we're just plugged in. Is your sound good? Let's do sound. Sound check 1, 2. You good? Okay. All right, everybody coming out.
Good afternoon, members of the media. Just really quick, I'm Chief Madry. I'm the Chief of Patrol for the NYPD. Standing here with me, of course, is our Borough President, Ms. Vanessa Gibson, our Borough Commander, Chief Rivera, Executive Officer of Patrol Services Bureau, Chief John Shell, Executive Officer of the Patrol Borough Bronx, Chief DeSigli, Executive Officer of the Highway District, Deputy Inspector Wynn, and the Commanding Officer of the 4-1 Precinct, Captain Macia. All right, so I'm going to give you some details of this accident that occurred earlier this afternoon. Everything I'm saying is still, this is just an initial investigation. This is an active scene, and information is subject to change. But about 3:10 this afternoon, right here on Westchester Avenue, members of the 4-1 Precinct were responding to a call of a vehicle being stolen. And our officers were diligently responding
And unfortunately, this accident became an intervening cause, and the vehicle actually did get stolen. We were never able to get there. But while officers were responding to this call of a vehicle being stolen, we had a marked 4x4 headed northbound on Westchester Avenue. When they got to the intersection of Hoe Avenue, there was a vehicle right in front of them. The officers crossed over the double yellow line to go around the vehicle, but the vehicle made a left-hand turn, at which point the department vehicle and the civilian vehicle, they clipped each other. Their front ends clipped each other, and it caused the R&P to veer off further to its left, further northbound and onto the sidewalk on Hoe Avenue, where approximately 6 pedestrians were standing in front of the location. The pedestrians were struck by the department vehicle. Other members of the department immediately responded there. They immediately start providing aid to the civilians, along with other members of the community that were out here. The 2 officers in the vehicle, they sustained some injuries, as well as the vehicle that was involved in the incident with the marked police car. So right now we have a total of 10 people who are injured, oldest being 65, youngest being 5 years old on the sidewalk, and a 2-year-old in the civilian vehicle. So as of right now, our collision investigation unit is conducting an investigation. They'll continue to talk to witnesses. They'll continue to find video, and they'll continue to piece together exactly what happened here. So at a later time, we'll have a full understanding of what occurred. But this is the initial events of what occurred earlier today.
Chief, how do you feel?
Wait, take a couple of questions. Stefan Kim.
Witnesses say that the child and mother were pinned against the wall between the cruiser. Is that true?
I don't have 100% details. This is something that'll be uncovered in the investigation. But the marked vehicle was close up against the wall. There were people there. So, this will be uncovered in the investigation.
This was NBC.
Were you guys were responding to a part of this being stolen? Was there a chase involved here with that vehicle at all?
No chase at all. And I really want to commend the members of the 401 precinct, because they were trying to get here. They were trying to prevent that crime. They were trying to apprehend someone that was attempting to steal a vehicle. And unfortunately, the accident allowed the person to steal the vehicle. So we didn't even catch the person who we were trying to get, because once that accident occurred, then the officers had to get into life-saving mode and make sure all of our civilians were okay. And all the civilians, including the officers and the motorists, were all removed to local hospitals. And again, if I didn't say it, no one is likely at this time.
Roger Stern.
How do you feel your officers were out doing their job, and for whatever reason, there are people, civilians now in the hospital? That must bother you.
Well, of course, we don't want to see anybody injured, especially when the officers were trying to do the right thing. They were trying to prevent a crime in progress. They were trying to apprehend someone who was ready to victimize a good person in the Bronx. And unfortunately, this collision occurred and people were injured, including the officers. But we know that they're getting the best medical care right now. We just pray for everybody, the officers and the families.
Thank you, everybody.
Was there
Thank you, everybody.
on the police cruiser, on the police vehicle?
I'll answer that. Lights and signs, we're on the vehicle, yes.
Thank you, everybody.
What state are people in? How many people are critical?
Two were considered critical, everybody else got light.
Both people in the civilian car were hurt, right?
So the update there from New York City, as we have, again, a developing story of an NYPD car responding to what we now know is a stolen vehicle report. And in response to that, with lights and sirens on, you heard them specify that there was no chase, but responding to a report of a stolen vehicle, a car veering into an intersection, according to NYPD, causing the NYPD car to swerve out of the way and into a group of pedestrians. And we just got an update on the 10 overall injured at the scene. That injury count, of course, including a child. You heard them say that 2 critically injured. This is still, we're getting a lot of different reports on this story from various news stations in the area, and of course, right there from police officials with NYPD. So, of course, we're still monitoring the developments on this story, and I'm sure that we're going to get more information again in the hours ahead as we look here a little bit closer at the scene. There's a walking cart just absolutely crumbled. There's an NYPD cruiser, and you can see there that might be the vehicle in question as we're talking about a vehicle that you saw there with a popped front passenger side tire, and of course some damage to the vehicle. You saw the trunk door flung open there, so it's very likely to be the vehicle in question. And you can't really see it from this vantage point, but during the live stream we were able to see that there is a lot of people who have huddled around the area, just looking, I'm sure, in disbelief at again an NYPD vehicle involved in what NYPD officials describe as a terrible accident involving a officer who swerved out of the way of an accident and hit a group of people on the side of the road, again, including a child. So just an absolutely terrible story. We're going to be concluding our Facebook Live coverage here momentarily. You can join us on the WFLA YouTube page for more stories that we are covering at this hour from the WFLA Now Stream Center. But again, the very latest on this story, we'll keep you posted on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. Back here with you live on the WFLA YouTube page, WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and WFLAnow.com. I think more than anything, I'm always talking about WFLA because we're here in Tampa Bay in the Stream Center talking about a myriad of terrible stories involving deaths or injuries. Just absolutely terrible. The amount, the volume of these stories that we've had come into our newsroom today. We're about to wrap up our live streaming coverage here momentarily, but before we do, I always like to make myself accessible to our audience to answer as many questions as possible. We just did a recap right before that press conference of some of the major stories that we're following at this hour, but I'd like to make myself available. You can use hashtag HeyJB in the YouTube Live comment section as we're just here interacting with you on YouTube Live, and I'll address as many comments as possible. It can be about one of the stories that we're covering. It can be about the system that we use to bring you this information, whatever it might be. I'm here for the next 5 to 10 minutes to answer your questions, provided that it has, of course, hashtag HeyJB. So we'll start here and look in our comment section. Stand by, folks, because I might have misheard something. As I look here for some of your comments, and I'm just checking some information. Make sure that I have my numbers right. Yeah, so that's including a 5-year-old. I'm sorry, I was taking notes so quickly, I missed it. So a 5-year-old among the injured. The New York Post reporting a child and a grandmother. So a 5-year-old among the injured. Apologies, I missed the age there. Again, 5 to 10 minutes talking about the myriad of stories that we're covering at this hour. Or if there's any questions that I can answer for you while we're live here on stream. Everything's on the table. Ask anything you'd like. If it has hashtag HeyJB, I can address it. Um, Brittany, thank you. I very much appreciate that. Pumpkin Spice, I appreciate that too. Sarah Lynn, how did you, WFLA, decide to launch this program? It's very good to have this type of local news reporting. Yeah, look, what we try to do here at WFLA Now is try to bring local news reporting to a wide audience. Hopefully you find it useful. We think that there's an opportunity for us to engage with you. But why did we decide to launch this? This was something that I tried to spearhead here at WFLA, because I really believe in giving and empowering you. I know that sounds like a bumper sticker. Believe me, I get it. But it's very near and dear to my heart to make sure that our viewers are heard. I was a news reporter as far as TV goes for more than 10 years. And for 10 years, I delivered news in a one-way direction. Me talking, you listening. And that to me, with the recent advancements in social media, just got a little bit stale for me, quite frankly. Nothing wrong with it. It was something that I wanted to say farewell to that particular chapter of my life, and I wanted to pursue something where that I could interact with our audience live. I was very much inspired by some of the streamers that exist out there that do things that are more fun. But I said to myself, my goodness, there's an opportunity here for us to engage with our audience in real time with news stories that matter to them, whether it's breaking news or stories where there's a question at the center of it that people have different answers or responses to. And so I searched and searched and searched for a opportunity where I could do my job and talk with you live and interact with you live. And it took me to WFLA in Tampa. Could not be more proud to be part of this news team, and I hope to be doing it for a very long time to come. But quite frankly, this is an experiment, and experiments like this, they live and they continue to exist through feedback from you. That's why there's always an opportunity for us to listen to your feedback and to talk with you out there as to how we can make the product better, whether or not you think that we're succeeding, failing, or need to tweak it along the way to make sure that we're doing the best by our viewers, you, wherever you're watching from. Bug Life, where's the good news? I would love to share some more good news, and we will look for opportunities to do so. I get, of course, assigned stories. I don't just get to go live. I get assigned news stories. And so a lot of what I do is breaking news, but I do know that there are some great stories out there that deserve more attention. And while, live streaming is a place for us to bring you something in the immediate. And I will look to share more of those good stories on my social media platforms. Live coverage usually delves into something that is immediate and urgent and happening now, and usually good news and urgent aren't used in the same sentence very often. It happens, but it's very, very rare, Bug Life. And so I will look for an opportunity to do my part in sharing some more good news on my other social media platforms at WFLAJB. I'm now on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. This is a great question from Peaceful Plant, #KJB. What times are you on? We don't have a schedule. We have listened to our audience, and we go live when we feel like there's a story that you need to know about now, or there's a story that we feel like you want to engage with us now. That's why it's called WFLA Now. So there is no schedule, but you can sign up for push alerts, sign up for push notifications, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or the WFLA app, and you'll get notified every time we go live. So look, there are times that it'll be convenient for you. There are times it will be inconvenient for you, but we try to do our very best to bring you news as it happens and the stories that you want coverage on interactively as well. Navy vet for the broken. #KJB. Now will New York City be responsible for the victims of this accident caused by these injuries? There's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt that that this is a potential lawsuit on the hands of NYPD. The immediate of this is that, of course, making sure that everyone's okay, giving them the treatment that they need. But look, if you're a person who was struck, it doesn't matter if it's by a public entity or a private one. You get hit by a vehicle, you have every right to pursue action, whether it be legal or through your insurance company, to be compensated for your injuries and the the dramatic set of circumstances that you were a victim of. So I would imagine that NYPD is yeah, of course they're on the hook for it. But you know what? This is something that happens with law enforcement agencies across the country, where at times it's extremely unfortunate. But law enforcement agencies at times, when they're responding to news stories or responding to calls, I should say rather, they find themselves in particularly precarious situations. And it's happened before, and you would hope that, of course, that this particular law enforcement agency does right by the victims of this terrible accident. Right. So, Sally, I think I heard that as well. I'll have to replay the press conference to confirm that. I was listening, but also taking notes. And I'll try to clarify that before the end of this live stream. So please bear with me. It's been a very, very busy afternoon. And thank you for being patient. Jen, I thank you for your comment. Sandra, I thank you for your comment. Jose, hashtag KJB, I'm very familiar with the area. It's a very high traffic volume. It's also very crowded. People walking to the train station, bus station, and medical clinics. Dina, hashtag KJB, did you see the reports of the shootings at a Thai daycare? Sadly, 38 died. I did see headlines out of this sort. I have not read anything recently about it to speak about it in depth, but clearly just an absolutely terrible story. The audio from the press conference was also really muffled in my earpiece. So this is the only way that I can hear. And sometimes with very, very loud areas like New York City, when the audio isn't correctly, when you have a certain audio environment, when you have a lot of sound around, like New York City, where you hear everything from the subway trains to the vehicles to the sirens to the birds chirping, when it's not very quiet, I hear that all get funneled into this earpiece. And so I had difficulty hearing sections of that press conference. I was trying so hard to listen and concentrate on the words. It was not a very good audio feed for my earpiece. So apologies to my audience if I missed a couple of notes on the press conference. I will do my very, very best to report accurately. You know, Maria, I am following this story to an extent. We were going to provide coverage of this story today, and then our priorities look, news stations, our priorities get shifted around all the time. This was a story that we were going to be covering on WFLA Now today, on the family from California that was abducted and later found dead. Absolutely gut-wrenching story. And we were going to go live with that today. That's something that we might be paying more attention to. Of course, them being found dead is absolutely the worst case scenario and the heartbreaking conclusion to that story. But of course, there's more on that story to be told, obviously. So that is something that we are going to be looking into. I can't promise live streams because I don't exclusively call the shots in our newsroom, and also too with national news stories. Look, we're WFLA. We cover Florida news, but we also delve into those national news stories that you have the most interest in. So it's I can't promise live streaming coverage, but this is something that is very, very much on our radar without question. Looking for some other hashtag AJB comments. GSZ 1112 asking if we're going to be covering the Debbie Collier case. This is one that I do get messages about, and this is something I'll bring up with our team. Again, I can't promise live streaming coverage on a particular story unless it has direct Florida ties, but I will do my very best to communicate this story to our newsroom for perhaps live streaming coverage. Juan, I'll need to look into that, Juan. I see your comment. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. And I'll try to provide an answer, even though it'll probably be off stream. Daryl Buffkin, hashtag KJB. Any update from Brian Laundrie's parents? Radio silence from the Laundrie parents. Radio silence from the Laundries in general as far as their attorney. I have not been in contact with their attorney in some time. Reason being is because things are a bit dormant on the Gabby Petito Brian Laundrie story at the moment, as we await a trial for the lawsuit next year, next summer, scheduled for August of 2023, so less than a year away. A significant case where there is still more to that story, according to the Petito and Schmidt side of the equation. They say that there is untold components to the Gabby Petito Brian Laundrie story, and that might very well play out in a courtroom, and that is a court case that we will be covering here at WFLA Now. That I can assure you. Matt Josephson, hashtag HAB. Why is your director showing the same video loop over and over and over? It's the news story that we've been focusing in on over the last hour or so, and there is no director. I direct our streams. So when I hit this button, I go away from the video loop. When I go back to the video loop, there it is. There is no director. In fact, there's no one else in the room right now. We're currently in our 5 o'clock news here at WFLA. And so I'm here providing streaming coverage while our broadcast team covers, stories in the Tampa Bay area, Florida, and beyond on broadcast television. So, but look, if everyone's, I bring this up because, Matt, people are joining our live stream at our numbers show that, like, at every moment, people are joining a live stream or leaving the live stream. It's a constant revolving door. So people who might want to see this video and want to see the scene so that they can see exactly the news story that we've been covering, I want to make sure that they're able to see this video, even though it is, of course, a tragic scene on the streets of the Bronx. Let me see if I can. Here, folks, stand by for a second. We're going to do something that we hope is advantageous to all of us, including myself, because I had tremendous difficulty hearing it in my earpiece So what we're going to do is we're going to queue up that press conference here. So, and with maybe a little bit of some improved audio. Stand by, folks. I'm just queuing that up so that we have it. Stand by, stand by. I'm still with you. And let's see here. The NBC New York is still reporting that the driver of the vehicle swerved and hit the pedestrians. But again, I missed that section of the press conference because of some difficulties with my earpiece. So I'm queuing that up, and we'll try to clarify that. But it is 2 children injured, a 5-year-old, and I believe a 2-year-old. Looking for some others. You know, Natalie, there might be any update to the Cassie Carley story. We are now in the window where the Carley family is told that they are going to be receiving an update on her cause of death. There is also a pending court case coming up for Marcus Spanavello, who hasn't been charged but been accused in her death. And so that is all going to be happening in the weeks ahead. So the Cassie Carley story, for those of you who've been seeking updates, there is going to be developments in that in the weeks ahead, without question. We're probably going to get a cause of death with the autopsy report being delivered, and then also as well, Spanavello, the boyfriend, in court. Steve, your comment, I don't want to read it, but people asking all the time, if I'm wearing, pajamas underneath, like here, but I'm telling you, I do. I have legs. People ask me, do I have legs? I do have legs. I do use the legs. I do walk. I do stand up, but I do a lot of seated coverage here. And also too, no, I'm not wearing pajamas or slippers, even though I probably could get away with it. It's still a place of business, but David Queenan, that's a very kind comment. I don't want to bring up the call letters for another station like that. That's really just not the way that I operate. I don't want it, but that's a very kind comment. I do know that there are other stations that are. So here's the thing with WFLA Now, as we wait for this press conference to get re-queued. Here's the thing with WFLA Now that's very interesting. Other stations have monitored what we're doing here with this experiment with WFLA Now and interactive journalism, and a couple of other stations have already launched their own version of this. In fact, I've been involved with other stations as they launch this type of format. Shout out to Chip Brewster at WGN in Chicago. He is a colleague that I have worked with, and I have, been able to work with him and kind of explain to him how I do my job. Matt Meyer at KSWB San Diego, California, another person that I've worked with and talked with about interactive journalism. Alex Rose in Denver, another great reporter who's transitioning to interactive journalism. We might be onto something special here. Maybe. Just maybe. Mild child, we have a lot of, there's deaths, there's injuries. in the country today. I would normally pass along a joke, but today is just not the type of day where we, joke about much. It would be insensitive to the news stories that we're covering. So I'm sorry. I'm sure that there are YouTube channels right now that are more jovial and willing to oblige to your request of some more jokes, but I'm going to be keeping things professional. V-Sale, thank you so much. I very much appreciate that. That's a very kind comment. A lot of kind comments, guys, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so we now have, this is now being queued up, and I think that we have made some changes here to where I'll be able to hear this in my earpiece a little bit better. Look, we're going to play back the press conference so that we can hear one more time what happened on the streets of New York City here a short time ago. And we're going to do so and really listen in, if we can, to the exact description of what transpired. My earpiece, again, I had difficulty hearing the vocal section of the audio, and I was hearing a lot of the ambient noise. So as I cue this up, I'm going to listen, and I think the audio is going to process a little bit more differently here to where I can hear it a little bit better. This is let me see here. This is a 5-minute clip back in 5 minutes on WFLA Now. Let's listen in here again a little bit more closely.
Good afternoon, members of the media. Just really quick, I'm Chief Madry. I'm the Chief of Patrol for the NYPD. Standing here with me, of course, is our Borough President, Ms. Vanessa Gibson, our Borough Commander, Chief Rivera, Executive Officer of Patrol Services Bureau, Chief John Shell, Executive Officer of the Patrol Borough Bronx, Chief DeSigli, Executive Officer of the Highway District, Deputy Inspector Wynn, and the Commanding Officer of the 4-1 Precinct, Captain Macia. All right, so I'm going to give you some details of this accident that occurred earlier this afternoon. Everything I'm saying is still, this is just an initial investigation. This is an active scene, and the information is subject to change. But about 3:10 this afternoon, right here on Westchester Avenue, members of the 4-1 Precinct were responding to a call of a vehicle being stolen. And our officers were diligently responding, and unfortunately this accident became an intervening cause, and the vehicle actually did get stolen. We were never able to get there. But while officers were responding to this call of a vehicle being stolen, we had a marked 4x4 headed northbound on Westchester Avenue. When they got to the intersection of Hoe Avenue, there was a vehicle right in front of them. The officers crossed over the double yellow line to go around the vehicle, but the vehicle made a left-hand turn, at which point the department vehicle and the civilian vehicle, they clipped each other. Their front ends clipped each other, and it caused the R&P to veer off further to its left, further northbound and onto the sidewalk on Hoe Avenue, where approximately 6 pedestrians were standing in front of the location. The pedestrians were struck by the department vehicle. Other members of the department immediately responded there. They immediately start providing aid to the civilians, along with other members of the community that were out here. The 2 officers in the vehicle, they sustained some injuries, as well as the vehicle that was involved in the incident with the marked police car. So right now we have a total of 10 people who were injured, oldest being 65, youngest being 5 years old on the sidewalk, and a 2-year-old in the civilian vehicle. So as of right now, our collision investigation unit has conducted an investigation. They'll continue to talk to witnesses. They'll continue to find video. and they'll continue to piece together exactly what happened here. So at a later time, we'll have a full understanding of what occurred. But this is the initial events of what occurred earlier today.
Chief, how do you feel?
Wait, take a couple of questions. Step on camera.
Witnesses say that the child and father were pinned against the wall between the cruiser. Is that true?
I don't have 100% details. This is something that'll be uncovered in the investigation. But the marked vehicle was close up against the wall. There were people there. So, this will be uncovered in the investigation.
This was NBC.
Were you guys were responding to a call that was being scheduled? Was there a chase involved here with that vehicle at all?
No chase at all. And I really want to commend the members of the 4-1 precinct because they were trying to get here. They were trying to prevent that crime. They were trying to apprehend someone that was attempting to steal a vehicle. And unfortunately, the accident allowed the person to steal the vehicle. So we didn't even catch the person who we were trying to get because once that accident occurred, then the officers had to get into life-saving mode and make sure all of our civilians were okay. And all the civilians, including the officers and the motorists, were all removed to local hospitals. And again, if I didn't say it, no one is likely at this time.
Roger Stern,
how do you feel your officers were out doing their job and for whatever reason, there are people, civilians now in the hospital? That must bother you.
Well, of course, we don't want to see anybody injured, especially when the officers were trying to do the right thing. They were trying to prevent a crime in progress. They were trying to apprehend someone who was ready to victimize a good person in the Bronx. And unfortunately, this collision occurred and people were injured, including the officers. But we know that they're getting the best medical care right now. We just pray for everybody, the officers and the families.
Thank you, everybody.
Was there
Thank you, everybody.
on the police cruiser, on the police vehicle?
I'll answer that. Lights and signs were on the vehicle, yes.
Thank you, everybody.
What state are people in? How many people are critical?
So we're considered critical. Everybody else got light.
Both people in the civilian car were hurt, right?
All right, so that provides a lot more clarity. And apologies if that feed came through and blew out your eardrums there for a moment. Did I? Everyone's ears okay? Please give me a thumbs up if everyone's ears are all right. Because when we first played back that clip, even I went, my goodness, loud. But that also provides me with some clarity because I had a much better opportunity. I actually put it on the speaker over here so that I could hear it better, rather than, again, all that ambient noise from the streets of New York being funneled into my earpiece. All right, good. We got a lot of thumbs up out there for, terrible story. And yes, so the two vehicles, the civilian vehicle and the NYPD 4x4 that you saw there on your screen a short time ago, there being a collision, clipped front ends was the exact quote there from the NYPD official. And that is what that instance there, that the two vehicles coming together is what caused the vehicle to go out onto the roadway, the NYPD cruiser, and 6 civilians to be injured. 65, the oldest, and a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old among the injured. Absolutely terrible. Apologies for our commenters that I missed some of that information. Having an earpiece is sometimes you can really hear well on this earpiece. Other times it's just a little bit difficult. And with this particular feed from New York, it was just difficult. So now that we have that out of the way, big shout out to where is it? Where is it? It's up here. Scrolling up. I'm gonna find you, Sally. Sally, I know you're there. Oh, it's beyond my purview now. Sally commented and had the correct information and I was missing some details, so a big thank you to her as she was able to alert me to the information. Final 5 minutes here, folks. Final 5 minutes to answer any hashtag KJB questions and comments. I'll do so as quickly as possible so that we get to as many of your comments as possible. If you use hashtag KJB, I can animate your comment on screen. It's been a really, 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 really unfortunate day as far as all these news stories with everything, currently going on with whether it be in Las Vegas or Dearborn. Just terrible. VSale, hashtag AJB. Have you considered your own YouTube channel with Patreon? I am a WFLA employee. I go live on the WFLA YouTube page. I go live on other various WFLA accounts, branded accounts. And that's all I can say. I do have my own separate social media accounts to answer this question. And I do go live on there from time to time, especially on Facebook. I'm live all the time on the WFLA JB Facebook page, but this is something that I am solely focused on bringing the 500,000 or so WFLA YouTube subscribers, the 2-point-something million fans on the WFLA Facebook page, and other various platforms. If you see WFLA, that's where I am, and that's where you can find me. I don't really know how to answer this. Mr. Reginald, hashtag AJB, what do you do when you done all you can? Is this a song lyric? Is there a deeper meaning to this, Mr. Reginald? What do I do when are you asking like what do I do to relax? I cook. My wife finds this to be a very, very interesting quirk. But I cook. When I have a stressful day, I cook. Cooking de-stresses me. I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but that's what I can provide. Davo. I like the profile picture there, Davo. Hashtag KJB. Moab police lawsuit. Any new info? No. And when any time that you have a civilian or a group of civilians suing a law enforcement agency, it is very common for there to be radio silence from that point forward. It is very rare for there to be updates because the law enforcement agency is rarely going to offer comment on pending litigation, and the plaintiffs are never going to offer comment because they don't want to say anything that is going to jeopardize their opportunity to win the lawsuit. So anytime that you have a lawsuit filed against a law enforcement entity or a government agency, it is so common for us in the media to say, okay, we know the lawsuit exists. We'll find out in a year, maybe more, what the result is. So Moab, little if nothing as far as occurrences and developments there. Lisa, hashtag AJB, thank you for all you do. Floridian, watching from Michigan. So then I don't know if you watched this, Lisa, because of Dearborn, but really hoping that we get an update there for of some kind. In fact, let's just kind of check in there and see if there's anything new that we can report. And no, nothing new out of Detroit, unfortunately. But thank you for watching, and I appreciate the kind words. Oh, Sarah, this is a very big compliment considering Bob's reputation. That means a lot to me. This is that's very, very thankful on my end. Thank you. I've never been compared to Bob, so that's a very kind thing for you to say. Thank you. It means a lot. Katie, hashtag KJB, what has been the hardest story that I've covered journalistically or emotionally? Both journalistically and emotionally, Gabby Petito, no doubt. Not even close. And I'll tell you why for both. It was the first time that we used WFLA Now for that amount of coverage. And people that followed me throughout that story know that we were live sometimes multiple times a day for hours on end. And while in broadcast television, there's commercial breaks and breaks between newscasts, we were just going live all the time, endlessly. And so it was emotionally draining for me because I was working, I don't even know how many hours. It was it was just, look, it was a story that and then I'll speak to this from a journalistic standpoint. it was a story, and you know, I still have fellow reporters, colleagues of mine, that will come and talk to me about that story and how we covered it at WFLA, and they will tell me that they still to this day cannot believe how that story had so many twists and turns, and how it's rare that you cover something where one day it's left, one day it's right, another day it's north, another day it's south. It was just that was a story that the 24-hour news cycle in this country was constantly being fed with updates of some kind, and so journalistically, that's not what made it all that challenging. What really made it challenging was all the misinformation out there, and as far as trying to process that misinformation, or kind of just swipe away that misinformation and bring you the accurate information, and then also too with so much unknown, especially in the manhunt portion of the story. That journalistically was difficult because we can only provide you coverage with what we know. Providing with coverage what we don't know is the hardest part of our jobs. So, yeah, that was the hardest one, just from both of those vantage points that I just described. You know, I don't know the answer to this. But I will. In fact, I don't even know when this is going to occur. To the commenter, Tammy, I'm not sure. I can't really comment about future live streams, future assignments, because even here's a perfect example: the family that was abducted and then later found dead in California. That was going to be my assignment today, and then things quickly pivoted and changed. So even when we plan coverage, sometimes things take a very sudden and abrupt turn in a different direction. So I can't promise coverage for stories because I don't want to leave. I don't want to break that promise. I do my very best to cover as many stories as possible. Brian, this is a very kind comment. Thank you. I'm sure that your local anchors and your local reporters in Dallas, I'm sure they're very deserving of your viewership, and I'm sure that there's some great. I don't know personally any reporters in Dallas. I have friends across the country in the reporting world. I just don't know any in Dallas, but I'm sure that the folks in Dallas work as tirelessly as I do to bring you coverage and stories that matter. Rob says hello from Los Angeles, and some more kind comments. Beast 13, anything new on the Cessna plane crash? Yeah, that's something that's really right at the tip of my fingertips, because we work quite a bit with Wavy 10 on your side, and there is an update there. Yeah, one dead. Terrible. That was the single engine Cessna, or likely it is a single engine Cessna 172 that had gone down around 3:22 today. Or excuse me, no, the crash, they're clarifying now, 3:05 p.m. Call came in at 3:22 at Newport News Williamsburg International Airport. Officials say that there was a fuel leak that had been contained at the airport. 3 occupants were on board, transported to a local hospital. 1 person was found dead on arrival by emergency personnel. The other occupants, life-threatening injuries. So 1 dead, 2 in life-threatening condition at the moment with life-threatening injuries. That's a terrible update there. Spring Hall, hashtag AJB, I'm a native Floridian living in Savannah, Georgia. We need something like your channel here. I'm thankful that you have this outlet, as I've kept up to date about Hurricane Ian via WFLA. Thank you. And we'll see. You know, this is an experiment at WFLA now, like streaming the news. It's a very forward-thinking kind of and progressive concept, but change isn't well received by everyone. How that goes, and so when you change the game a little bit, not saying that I do, I'm not saying that, but when things do get changed in a whatever industry you're talking about, it's never 100% positive, it's never a 100% positive reception. There are going to be, of course, naysayers. There are going to be people who are saying that you can't do this, or there are going to be people saying that we're not going to allow you to do this. I'm very grateful here at WFLA to be allowed to provide you this format of news as we venture, further into interactive journalism. However, I can only hope that there are more reporters like me doing the type of work that I do, and there already are. Again, Alex Rose in Denver, Chip Brewster in Chicago, Matt Meyer in San Diego. I forgot to shout out Will Dupree in Austin, Texas. Will does phenomenal work. Mitch McCoy at KARK in Arkansas. These are people that interactive journalists like me that I work with, and I'm so proud to. And we are always talking back and forth about how we do our jobs, and we do it to the best of our ability. Some have decided to go into more branded content and more franchise content. I know that Mitch, as an example, was doing a weekly show about cold cases, and it was great. I watched a few episodes. He's awesome. So there are some other versions of interactive journalism that are going on across the country, and I'm proud to see that move forward as we continue to push the boundaries of what we can do. Margarita, #KJB, any updates from Hurricane Ian with all the cities that were along that path? Yeah, I mean, look, it's the death toll has exceeded 100. Governor DeSantis is on the ground. President Biden was on the ground with him yesterday in a very interesting scene. Obviously, these two who are political rivals who have been very outspoken against one another, but then, of course, appearing to be quite cordial with each other. Things are starting to materialize as far as recovery. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness, check this out. This is just in. What is this? This is from Las Vegas. What was that? This is new video emerging out of Las Vegas with a spotlight on an individual near the scene of where that terrible stabbing incident occurred with 2 people dead, 6 people stabbed. Oh, this is a press conference. Let's listen.
To the community and to the media and asking your help to help us further that investigation. The weapon that was used in the attack is a large knife with a long blade. We did recover that weapon, and we enacted the major case protocol in this type of investigation. Again, that's where we have all hands on deck. We use all available resources. So we want to resolve this case as quickly as possible and present the facts quickly to you and the community as quickly as we can. We are thankful, as the sheriff mentioned, to our first responders, the help that was rendered at the scene, both by them and the community. Thankful for the community being witnesses to this. And as you can imagine, we have scores of witnesses to continue to get statements from, and we have a number of video surveillance that we have to get through here in the immediate future. We do have video of the suspect that as he was fleeing and in the vicinity of the area. He is, as you can see to my left, the video, he is running southbound. Help orientate you to the video. That is the corner of Sands and Las Vegas Boulevard North. He is now turning to go eastbound on foot, and he is followed and is taken in custody several hundred yards down the street from here by the Sands security. And again, we want to extend our heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims and to the victims themselves. This is clearly a very tragic and hard to understand, hard to comprehend murder investigation that deeply impacts our community. And again, we're thinking of them and have them in our thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. So as, like I said, the Public Information Office will be in constant contact associated with this event, and I'm sure we'll be able to answer your questions in due time. So please give us some time as we work through this dynamic investigation. But I also want to confirm that the scene is static, meaning that it is stable. There is not any unknown or unaware suspects at this time, and we will be able to open for normal business here shortly. So thank you for your time.
That was an update from Las Vegas. And my goodness, very quickly were Las Vegas officials able to get that video and even edit that video to do a pinhole effect on the suspect making the turn around the corner to where this stabbing incident occurred. So I have it as 2 dead, 6 injured, 8 overall stabbed in Las Vegas. Just, again, you're thinking about the Strip. You're thinking about how populated that area is on a regular and routine basis. It's almost similar to Times Square in New York. It's just one of those spots in the country that is always busy. Always busy. And so, suspect in custody. 8 News Now in Las Vegas, our sister station, reporting as well that a witness at the scene said that one of the victims was a Las Vegas showgirl. Quote from a witness: "This guy came up, ran up, and started stabbing this lady in front of me. And she ran around the escalators, and she tried to get up under the bridge, and her girlfriend was trying to help her." 11:42 in the morning, Las Vegas time. Yeah, just heartbreaking and tragic story. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us here on stream on WFLA Now, unless there's any final hashtag AJB questions and comments that we have coming in here. Norbert, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I see your comment, but I don't know what to tell you. Oh, let's show you this. My goodness, feeds continue to come in, but same story, Las Vegas. So there you see the coroner, medical examiner unit on scene. Four shot in D.C. 1 injured in an active shooter situation in Dearborn, Michigan, in a hotel where police are actively negotiating with the suspect. Got 2 dead, 6 injured in a stabbing incident with a person going around just stabbing people on the Las Vegas Strip. You've also got in New York a vehicle and a NYPD vehicle responding to a theft call of a stolen vehicle, colliding at an intersection, clipping each other, and sending that NYPD vehicle into a group of people, including a grandparent and children, or a 5-year-old rather, children among the injured there, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, 10 overall injuries there in New York. So just a day of terrible and unfortunate news in various different sections of the country. And on that note, folks, we are going to be wrapping up our stream. I see the other comments coming in. I don't mean to be rude, but we are going to be wrapping up our live streaming coverage. Again, really quickly to end out on here, WFLA Now, we're live on the device in the palm of your hand on YouTube Live, Facebook Live. We also go live now on TikTok. Give me a follow on the WFLA JB TikTok page. We are going to be doing more content over there, including a couple of live streams that we've already done. That's a very new sort of avenue for us to go down. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, of course, all those platforms. They're all the same, at WFLA JB. We're always trying to make our YouTube comment section welcoming and respectful for all. The latest crop of people that commented towards me or emailed me interested in becoming a YouTube moderator on the WFLA Facebook or YouTube page, we have now shot out our emails to those people so that they can begin the process. It is a process for becoming a YouTube comment section moderator on the WFLA YouTube page. You can, of course, go through that process. If you are interested in becoming a WFLA YouTube moderator, we don't accept everybody. There is, of course, a process that you have to fill out and various steps you have to take. But you can email me at jbuno@wfla.com. We're looking for people that are going to keep our comment section respectful, welcoming, and just an overall good place. So check your inboxes if you reached out to me before. And a big shout out to our current moderators. I believe we have Bug Love and Michelle joining us in the comment section right now, keeping things the way that they do, doing a great job for us. Folks, our incredible hard-working staff at WFLA, they're working on all of these stories. It's been just a very dramatic influx of news into our newsroom today. And while these stories are national and not Florida-based, we're still, of course, bringing you coverage and trying to update those stories as quickly as possible. You can check WFLA.com, the WFLA app, for the very latest on our coverage. As I just kind of check in here on some of those stories. They are coming to WFLA.com as our updates, as we are provided with updates from these various cities across the country. So please, of course, if you continue to follow me, I'll be able to share out some more information on my various social media channels. It's at WFLAJB across just about every platform these days. I do my very best to keep our commenters updated there. And I'm sending on a personal note, I'm just sending my thoughts and my prayers to all those affected. I'm thinking about, those affected, the community in Dearborn, the shots fired in Lexington, the stabbing victims in Las Vegas, the airport crash, or the single engine plane that went down near the airport in Virginia, and of course the folks on the streets of the Bronx, New York. I'm just sending my personal thoughts and prayers to everybody affected by today's tragic events, and really hoping that everybody who is currently in the hospital or being treated for their injuries, I'm just praying for their smooth and fast and most expeditious as possible recovery. Folks, the very latest on these stories and more on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. Thanks so much for watching.